Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, let's start the story of To What If Issei awakened the legendary wielder and become Dragon Slayer Part 6. Before we start, please go support DragongodAstaroth for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Chapter 9, Acceptance. Chapter 9, Acceptance. Yokosa's Palace Training Area. 5:36 p.m. Currently, we see both Naruto and Sasuke having one of their usual sparring matches, but this time it was different. Ever since meeting Issei, they both felt a huge drive or motivation to become even stronger. They began trying and practicing some new techniques that they learned after receiving some advice from Issei. Dorito grins, "Is that all you got, Sasuke?" Sasuke grins, "Hardly. I'm barely using half my own strength. But it seems you already knew that since I could, you're doing the same thing, am I right?" Naruto grins, so you figured me out. How well it can't be helped, since I need to not only get stronger to beat you, but also to beat Issei." Sasuke grins, "Is that so? Well, get in line, since I don't care if I have to fight the White Dragon Emperor himself. I'll be the one to take down Issei." Ever since meeting and sparring with Issei, you could say that the three boys developed sort of a rivalry with each other, to which Naruto and Sasuke's goal to surpass Issei in power, to which the brown-haired agreed to the challenge. But Issei also promised that it wouldn't be easy for the two of them, since he told the two his goal was to become the next true dragon god and will surpass even Great Red himself, which only made the two boys grin with anticipation to reach Issei's strength. As the two teenagers were duking it out, trying to give it everything they had, Naruto was interrupted by a voice that he hadn't heard in a while. "Brin still going at it? Naruto? Naruto?" Startled, punched in the face. Oof. With Naruto being distracted by the voice, Sasuke took the chance to punch Naruto in the face, which knocked him to the ground. "Wins too. That's gotta hurt." Naruto rubs his face in annoyance. "Oh, what the hell was that for?" Sasuke. "Serious. You dropped your guard, Naruto. You can't let yourself be distracted in the middle of the battle." Naruto. Annoyed. "TSK, whatever, I'll get you back for that." Looks over to the stranger while smiling. "So you're finally back, pervy sage?" The person that was calling out to Naruto's name was a tall and well-built man in adulthood with fair skin. He had waist-length, spiky white hair that he usually ties back into a ponytail with two shoulder-length bangs framing his face. There were red lines under his eyes which extended all the way down his face. He has wrinkles around the corners of his mouth and a wart on the left side of his nose. His attire consisted of a green short shirt, kimono, and matching pants, under which he wore mesh armor that is visible at his wrists and ankles. He also wore handguards, a black belt, traditional Japanese wooden sandals, and a red haori with two yellow circles on each side. He often carried a large scroll on his back and had a tattoo on his left palm, and he wore a horned forehead protector with a kanji for oil. Sasuke smirks, "I see that you're well, Jiraiya." Jiraiya smirks, "So, Sasuke, it's been a while, hasn't it?" Has a shit-eating grin. "Tell me, has my godsend finally asked that nice-looking Hyuga girl out yet since I've been gone?" Naruto. Embarrassed, pervy sage. "What the hell?" Sasuke smirks. "No, not yet. But luckily for him, he has a little love guru to help him hurry up and confess." Sighs in annoyance. "Honestly, you two, can you stop picking on Naruto? You damn well the position that both he and Hinata are in, so cut him some slack, some damn slack." Smirks. "Besides, last time I checked, Sasuke, you weren't making any progress either with Ino, so I wouldn't talk about Naruto making any progress with Hinata now." Sasuke embarrassed him. Smirks. "And you, Jiraiya, may I remind you how hard it was for you to fully confess your love to me?" Jiraiya chuckles sheepishly while scratching the back of his head. "Well, I was trying to help Naruto here too." Naruto smiles sheepishly. "Thanks, Granny Tsunade." The person who was scolding both Sasuke and Jiraiya was a fair-skinned woman with brown eyes and straight blonde hair that parts above her forehead. Her hair has shoulder-length bangs that frame her face, and the rest reaches her lower back. She wore a grass-green haori with a kanji for Gamble Eye Cake on the back, inside a red circle. Underneath she wears a gray kimono-style blouse with no sleeves, held close by a broad dark bluish-gray obi that matches her pants. Her blouse is close quite low, revealing her sizable cleavage. She wears open two-edged strapped black sandals with high heels. She has red nail polish on both her fingernails and toenails and uses a soft pink lipstick. This woman was Tsunade Senju, the wife of Jiraiya, as well as the godmother of Naruto. Tsunade smiles, but Naruto, I do agree that you and Hinata need to stop playing cat and mouse with your feelings for one another. I understand the situation that you and her are in, but if you at least properly confess your feelings and stand up for her, then you two start to form a proper relationship. Naruto. So I know Granny Tsunade, but you know how the Hyuga clan are. They have a huge influence over the Shinto faction and stay true to their beliefs. Even if Mother and Lady Amaterasu were to support me and Hinata's relationship, the Hyuga clan would revolt and would cause major problems within our faction. Sasuke smirks. Well, we always have the backup plan. Tsuruya Tsunade. Curious backup plan. Naruto. Sweat drops. You're not really considering that plan, are you? Sasuke smirks. What? Even Lady Tsunade said you have to stand up for her. So what other way would you love her than for the three of us to break into the Hyuga residence and snatch up Hinata for you two to get hitched? Tsunade. Shocked. What? Who the hell came up with that plan? Sasuke smirks. A couple days ago the Red Dragon Emperor came by and stayed here with us, snickers, and is possibly going to be Naruto's new father-in-law, Jiraiya Tsunade. Shocked the Red Dragon Emperor was here. Yakuza. Curious what's going on here. It was then Yakuza entered the area upon hearing all the commotion area. It was then she saw both Jiraiya and Tsunade and put on a joyful smile. Isaka smiles. Jiraiya Tsunade, you've finally returned from your trip. Tsunade, surprised Lady Yakuza, is this true? Was the Red Dragon Emperor really here? Jiraiya. Shocked, and that he was going to be your new husband? Yakuza smiles. Why yes, he was, and for being my husband blushes while smiling. Well, we decided to take it slow, but he did agree to be a role model for Konoha. Naruto. Sweatdrop's mom is even making me and Sasuke go to his hometown and enroll at his school. Tsunade. Shocked. Wait, the current Red Dragon Emperor is only a boy. Sasuke smirks. Yeah, but he was strong enough to even defeat Kasalian Sensei, who's currently training right now for their rematch. As Yakuza was explaining to Jiraiya and Tsunade about Issei's visit here and what he and his group were doing in the first place, they were shocked to think the Red Dragon Emperor was able to make Yamato yield to him. It was then Naruto remembered what Issei told him about accepting his heritage as well as the power that came along with it, and decided that it was time to accept it. It was then Naruto approached his godfather with a serious expression that was filled with determination to gain this power that he has deep inside of him. This made Jiraiya on what his godsend would want to ask him. Naruto. Serious, pervy sage, Jiraiya. Curious some. What is it, Naruto? Naruto. Breaths and exhales. Serious. I want to try to control the demon fox chakra inside of me again. Everyone except Sasuke. Beyond shocked. What? Everyone was shocked that Naruto would want to try to control demon fox chakra that he received from Kurama, especially after what happened last time in which he lost control and destroyed a few city blocks. All the while, Sasuke was proud of Naruto's decision since he took what Issei and him were trying to tell him and that he shouldn't be afraid of his power. Sasuke mind smirks. Finally, Naruto, you're finally going to accept this power of yours. Jiraiya. Concerned Naruto, are you sure you want to do this? I mean, I thought you would never want to even try controlling it again after what happened last time. Tsunade. Concerned, we know how much it scares you when you use that power. But why would you try to control this time? Naruto. Serious, because I realize that no matter what I do, this power will always be a part of me, and that one way or another, I will have to come to terms with it and confront it. So that is why I want to try again to control the demon fox chakra. Both Tsunade and Isaka were a bit concerned about Naruto's decision about controlling his demonic chakra, especially last time they were barely able to bring him back. But Jiraiya thought differently when he looked into Naruto's eyes. He saw both the fear and the risks of doing this, but also the determination to do this through, and he didn't know how to explain it, but he felt confident that his godsend could pull it off this time. He couldn't help but be reminded of his late father, who was also his student before Naruto. Jiraiya mind smiles fondly. If only you could see your son now, Minato. Jiraiya smirks. Alright, let's do it. Tsunade Yusaka. Shocked what? Tsunade. Shocked Jiraiya. Are you sure about this, Yusaka? Concerned. Do you not remember the last time Naruto tried controlling Kurama's demonic chakra? We were barely able to bring him back and you got severely injured. Jiraiya. Serious. I'm well aware of what happened last time, Tsunade Lady Osaka, but this time it feels different. Every other time we had to convince Naruto to go along with trying to control his demonic chakra, but now he's coming to us to be able to control it. Call it a gut feeling if you want, but I feel like Naruto can pull this off. Both Tsunade and Yakuasa were fairly skeptical going along with this plan about letting Naruto try to control the demonic chakra due to the possible where it might lead. But at the same time, they couldn't deny what Naruto is about. No matter what he does, he will no doubt have to come to terms with his heritage one way or another. Time skip 1 hour later. Currently, in the training area, we see Naruto, Sasuke, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Yakuasa and Amaterasu gathered in order to undo the seal on Naruto's chakra. When Amaterasu was told about what they were about to do, she also felt worried for Naruto, since she also remembered what happened the last time he tried to control his demonic chakra. Isaka, Tsunade and Amaterasu were in 4 corners of the area with Naruto with his chest exposed, revealing a strange marking on it. It was then Jiraiya approached Naruto, confirming to go through with his plan. Jiraiya? Serious, are you ready for this, Naruto? It's not too late to turn back. Naruto, breaths in and out, I'm ready. Jiraiya. Serious. Alright, here goes nothing. Jiraiya, mind serious. Good luck, Naruto. You're going to need it. But that said, Jiraiya placed his hand on Naruto's seal, and thus it started to rotate, similar to a lock being undone. Once the seal was fully undone, an explosive amount of chakra was released, practically destroying the ground around him. It was then Jiraiya back to the remaining corner. It was then Jiraiya, Tsunade, Yusaka and Amaterasu performed a series of hand signs, to which of all them called in unison, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Yusaka, Amaterasu. Serious 4 crimson formation. As if on command, a giant square barrier sprouted forth surrounding Naruto, as well as keeping the dangerous demonic chakra in check. Isaka mind concern, please be okay, Naruto. Meanwhile, inside Naruto's mindscape, Naruto was currently walking through what seemed like a large sewage system, which to seem it would go on forever. He was currently looking for the source of his demonic chakra. Usually, he would have to fight a giant fox in order to gain control of his chakra, but this time felt different. Since usually he would be face to face with the giant fox as soon as he entered the mindscape, but this time it was being elusive for some reason. It wasn't until he was in a large area where he had never been before that he felt the fox nearby. Naruto, serious. I know you're here, show yourself, fox. Talk less darkly now, who said I was hiding? Naruto. Shocked, wait a minute. You sound different this time, what the hell is going on? It was then emerging from the shadows of the area was something that shook Naruto to his core. It was him, but different, in which his scara was pitch black and his eyes were blood red. He radiated an aura that filled with darkness and hate. Kyuubi smirks darkly. Honestly. Do you really need me to answer that? Naruto. Shocked. What the hell? Who are you? Why do you look like me? Kyuubi sighs sadly. Honestly, there's no way you're this dense. Smirks darkly. But then again, I shouldn't be surprised since this is the first time you've seen me in this form. Laredo. Annoyed, answer me. Where the hell is the fox? Are you just something that the fox created to keep me from him? Kyuubi grins darkly. I guess you're in denial since I can already feel that you know exactly who I am. Naruto. Serious? Kyuubi grins darkly. So you're still denying it, aren't you? Well, in that case, allow me to spell it out for you. It was then at blinding speed to which Naruto could barely react in time, his dark self trying to land a devastating punch on him. Hyoudou grins darkly. I am the fox. Naruto. Shocked what? Naruto couldn't believe what this dark version just told him. Was it true? During all that time he tried battling the demon fox inside of him, really him, or to be precise the darkness within his heart. All this time he believed that he was fighting the remnant of his ancestor. The darker self of Naruto saw his expression and couldn't help but grin darkly about how Naruto finally saw who he really was. Kyuubi grins darkly. Oh, so you finally see it, don't you? Naruto nods. No, I don't believe you. You can't be me, Kyuubi. Serious. You're right, I'm not you. Naruto. Confused, it was then the dark self of Naruto kicked him in the stomach, sending him a few back towards the other side of the arena. Naruto. Serious. What do you mean you're not me? Hyoudou. Serious. I'm not you because I'm the real Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto. Confused what? Kyuubi. Grins darkly. Don't you see I'm the real Naruto Uzumaki and the true descendant of the demon fox, Kurama. Points at Naruto angrily. You are an imposter, a fake, constantly denying who you really are. It was then Kyuubi started charging Naruto at blinding speed, with his fist cocked back to which Naruto was able to parry and send a gut punch into Kyuubi's stomach. Kyuubi then stumbled back while glaring daggers that were filled with unrivaled hatred towards Naruto. Kyuubi, glaring daggers, you don't deserve to call yourself a descendant of Kurama. You dare call the woman whose grandfather not only killed our descendant, but also what made our life a living hell, mother. Pretending to be a perfect older brother to her daughter who will share the same blood as her disgusting great-grandfather. Naruto? Seriously, meanwhile outside, within the four crimson barrier, everyone could see Naruto's demonic chakra exploding violently, as well half of his body covered red chakra cloak that took the shape of a small fox, while the other side of his body was completely peeled off and being covered with a pure blood red chakra that took the same shape, but his eyes were hollowed and void of life. Everyone who saw this already knew what was happening and that Naruto was currently in battle with his inner fox demon, but for some reason this time felt different, as if Naruto was struggling a lot more than he had before. It was as if his inner fox was not gonna let Naruto as easily as last time. This greatly concerned Yasaka, since if Naruto's inner fox was determined to swallow him whole, then she would be faced with no choice but to possibly kill Naruto. The mere thought of it alone filled Yasaka with dread. Jiraiya. Serious. This is not looking good. Tsunade. Serious. It seems the fox is taking this more seriously than it has in the past. Amaterasu. Serious. If that is the case, then we must be ready for the worst possible outcome. Shocked what? Amaterasu. Serious. I'm sorry, Isaka, but it's the truth. We don't know if we can truly pull Naruto out this time, and if he truly becomes consumed by his demonic chakra, then we must do what is necessary in order to protect everyone. Isaka. Sadden him. Amaterasu. Sadden, I know that this is hard for you, especially since you see Naruto as your son, but we must perform our duties to protect our land and our people from any threat that comes our way. I also don't want to resort to that option either, but as the princess of the Shinto pantheon, I must fulfill my duty to protect my people no matter the cost. Sasuke. Serious, then have faith in Naruto. Everyone? Surprised, everyone's attention then turned to Sasuke, who had an annoyed expression on his face, which why wouldn't he, since they were suggesting to kill his true rival as well as his best friend, and he wouldn't have any of that, since if anyone was going to kill Naruto then it was going to be him. Sasuke. Serious. I know Naruto better than anyone, and I know he's not gonna let some dumb version of Evil Fox defeat him before I do. Naruto is my sworn rival, and I know he won't go down without giving it his, and trust me when I say this that he is barely getting warmed up. It was then Sasuke took out his katana and pointed it at Naruto's body and started speaking with his raging spirit in hopes it would reach Naruto and help him defeat the darkness within him so he could move forward with his life. Sirzechs. Serious, you hear me, Naruto? Annoyed, hurry and stop dicking around and beat that damn fox already and accept the power within you. You are my sworn rival, and I know damn well you are not letting something like this defeat you. Roars with anger. I swear to you, Naruto, that if you lose to that thing inside, then as the last member of the Uchiha clan, that I will curse your soul for all eternity for sullying our rivalry like this. I refuse that my true and only rival is this weak. As if Sasuke's words were like a spell, everyone could see one of Naruto's ears twitch in response, which made everyone have wide-eyed expressions that Sasuke's words actually reached Naruto. All the while, Sasuke couldn't help but smirk since he knew that his words could reach Naruto in his mindscape, since their rivalry was that special that they essentially formed a special bond that no one in this world could ever understand. It was akin brother-siblings reading each other's thoughts and emotions, hence why when one of them got the upper hand, the other would quickly surpass them, and it would continue on like an endless cycle until one of them finally admits defeat, to which that will never happen. Asaka couldn't help but be relieved that at least Sasuke's strange words of encouragement were able to reach her son's mind, which she hoped would be enough to help him overcome this trial. Asaka mind, serious, I believe in you, Naruto. Back with Naruto. Both Naruto and Kaibe have been fighting relentlessly, with either of them giving each other the advantage over the other. Both of them having bruises and cuts on their bodies, with blood slowly slipping down from the attacks that they both dealt to one another. Kyuubi had a sadistic smirk on his face since he knew that he was showing Naruto that no matter what he did, he could never defeat him. Kyuubi grinned sadistically. Don't you see you can't beat me? Naruto, mind panting, damn it. It's just like before, no matter what I do to him, he won't back down, and he has all my skills and abilities to AT. It was then Naruto's thoughts were interrupted when he suddenly heard the voice of his best friend and rival echoing inside his mindscape. Sasuke outside, serious, you hear me, Naruto? Annoyed, hurry and stop dicking around and beat that damn fox already and accept the power within you. You are my sworn rival, and I know damn well you are not letting something like this defeat you. Roars with anger. I swear to you, Naruto, that if you lose to that thing inside you, then as the last member of the Uchiha clan, that I will curse your soul for all eternity for sullying our rivalry like this. I refuse that my true and only rival is this weak. Upon hearing his rival's words of motivation, Naruto couldn't help chuckle while smirking, at which confused the Kyuubi. Naruto still had promises that he needed to keep. He wanted to get stronger in order to defeat Sasuke and be his equal. He wanted to have a rematch with Issei and become the 9 tails in existence. He wanted to be the big brother that Kunu wanted and be there for her. But most importantly, he wanted to formally confess his love to Hinata and be with her for the rest of his life. Naruto was going to be damned if he was going to break any of his promises, but he needed to figure out how to beat this darkness that's inside of him. Naruto smirks, you're right, Sasuke. I can't let myself be defeated by someone as weak as this guy right here, or else I wouldn't be able to call you as my rival. I promised to say that I would get stronger in order for our rematch, and I can't leave Kuno brotherless now, can I? Plus I need to get my feelings towards Hinata. It was then that Kyuubi started laughing maniacally, since he really thought that Naruto would be able to beat him. Kyuubi laughs maniacally. And please do tell how you're going to do that when we were so evenly matched. Grins manically, face it. I have all your skills and your abilities. I know what move you're going to make before you even think about it. I know what's inside your heart. Naruto mind, serious, he's right. He has all of my skills and abilities. Us fighting is like an unstoppable meets an unmovable object. We can fight for all of eternity, and none of us will make any headway. Eyes narrowed. So how do I beat him? How do I beat someone who is essentially an exact copy of me but also the opposite? The same memory, serious, you need to accept it. Naruto mind, startled, say. The same memory, serious, maybe you shouldn't resist the rage and hatred and learn to accept it. It was then Naruto realized that what he was hearing was the memory of him and Issei in the hot springs discussing his dark power. Issei memory, serious, you said it yourself that every time you tried to resist this power it fights back, right? So what if next you try to accept the rage and hatred that comes with your power? As Naruto remembered the words of the new friend that he made, he couldn't help stare into the eyes of his dark counterpart. He saw hatred, disgust, and disdain for both him and everyone in his life. But when he looked closer he saw also the sadness, the pain, and the loneliness that he had deep in his heart in both of their hearts. It was then Naruto knew what he had to do in order to finally beat this dark version of himself, and finally take control of his power. Naruto. Serious, you're right. Kyuubi. Confused Naruto. Serious. No matter how many times I try to fight you, you'll just keep on getting back up and keep on fighting just like me. Kyuubi. Grins darkly. So you finally admit defeat then? Naruto nods. No, because like I said, you're just like me and I will never back down or give up. Hyobi. Confused. So what the hell are you going to do? You won't be able to leave the other times you've come here. Naruto. Serious. I'm not leaving, not until I get what I came here for, and that it is the power that I rightfully inherited. Kyuubi. Eyes narrowed. Oh, really? How the hell are you going to do that when you can't even defeat me? Naruto. Serious, by having faith in myself. Kyuubi. Confused Naruto. Serious, you were right. To be honest, I didn't trust anyone in the beginning, even Yasaka or Amaterasu, especially when I learned the truth of who I was and what had happened to my parents. I did hate everyone in both the yokai and Shinto for scorning me for something I didn't even do, but despite all that they still treated me with kindness. Then I met pervy sage and Granny Tsunade, and I felt what it was like having grandparents who loved and cared about me. Then there was Sasuke, who felt the same pain and loneliness that I felt and became the first friend that I ever had. Then there was Hinata, who, even knowing who I really, still wanted to be with me, since I guess she knew from the start that I wasn't some monster. So yes, to most people I may be just a demon. Fox smiles. But that's why I'm going to trust myself that I can change everyone's mind about me. It was then Kyuubi fell to his knees with his head down, and began to sound like he was crying. Kyuubi, shedding tears, why they made us suffer so much. Naruto. Smiles, I know, but his aim made me realize that I should learn to accept the hate and the pain that I experienced and turn into something better, something that will change how people will see not only me, but also the descendants of Kurama in general, that I should have my pride as a descendant of Kurama. Ayabi, shedding tears in me. Are you saying that I'm just holding you back? Then what the hell was I all this time? Narito. Smiles, don't get this twisted, but it was thanks to you I managed to become strong. I never realized it until now, but thanks to you I was able to turn all of my pain, suffering, hatred, and loneliness into my strength and help me move forward. It was thanks to you I was able to get this far. Kyuubi. Shedding tears, then what should I do now? Naruto. Smiles, that's simple. It was then Kyuubi began charging at Naruto again, but this time Naruto just stood there smiling. When Kyuubi got in front of Naruto, instead of Naruto dodging or trying to parry Kyuubi's attack, he just hugged him as a way of saying that he accepts him. Naruto. Smiles, just become me, because you're me, too. Kyuubi. Shocked Naruto. Smiles. Thank you for all you've done for me. It's okay now. It was then Kyuubi's scara started to turn white, and his eyes were turning blood red into blue color just like Naruto's. It was then the Kyuubi started slowly dissipating into red chakra energy, which slowly went into Naruto. But as soon as all of the red chakra went into Naruto, the scenery around him changed, which surprised Naruto greatly since he would have returned to the physical world by now. From what Naruto could see was a golden world without any form of direction, whether it was up, down, left, right, and etc. He frankly started looking in hopes to figure out what's going on and how to get out of here. Naruto frantically looks around. What the hell? Where the hell am I? Sad, and I'm not the so-called monster that everyone makes me out to be. Naruto. Startled, when Naruto turned around he saw a man similar to him, but the difference was that he was older and his skin was also darker. The hair fur was closer to orange than his scarlet, and reached all the way down to his waist. Upon looking at the strange, Naruto couldn't help but feel like he knows this man and has some familiarity with him. Naruto. Confused. Who are you? Smiles. Sadly, you should already know who I am, especially since you carry my blood within you. Naruto was now more confused than he was before, but thought about what the strange man said and tried to see what he was talking about. Though it didn't take long before Naruto's eyes widened in shock as he finally put the pieces together and figured out who this person was in front of him. Naruto. Eyes widen in shock. You're my ancestor, the demon fox, Kurama. Kurama. Smiles sadly. Hello, Naruto. Naruto. Shocked and confused. But how? You're dead, there's no way we could be talking right now, you have to be some kind of illusion or something. Kurama. Trying to hold in laughter, laughs out loud, Naruto. Confused. Naruto was now beyond confused as to why his ancestor, who he was told his child that he was a monster of in every way to the point it took the force the entire Shinto faction to bring him down for good, was laughing like a complete idiot. This also made Naruto slightly annoyed that he was actually related to this idiot that he is witnessing right now. Naruto. Annoyed. Hey. What's so funny? Kurama. Chuckles while wiping a tear away. My goodness, I honestly thought I was going to pop lungs there, and I even don't have a body to do so with. Smiles. I'm so glad that at least my descendants at least know how to crack a joke and make people laugh. You probably got that from me since I was pretty good at making jokes in my prime. Naruto. Annoyed? Will you stop dicking around and tell me what's going on? I mean, literally, how are we even talking when you should have been dead centuries ago? Kurama. Smiles and chuckles sheepishly while scratching the back of his head. To be honest, I don't even really know myself since this has never happened before. I'm pretty sure this isn't all of me, but more like a piece of my original chakra that was passed down through my descendants through the years. But I guess since you were finally able to accept yourself as my descendant as well as my power, we are able to make contact with one another. At least that's what I'm guessing based on the situation that we're in. Burrito. Sighs in annoyance. Okay then, so you're my ancestor the demon fox Kurama. Kurama. Serious, just Kurama, since even though I'm only a fragment of my original self, I still have all of his memories and emotions and trust. I'm not very fond of the whole demon fox title. That was something that those bastards in both the Yakai and Shinto factions called me. Naruto. Curious. Okay then, Kurama, why did you say you weren't the so-called monsters that everyone said you were? It was then Kurama's expression became of pure sadness, as he had to remember and tell of the truth of his origin, as well as why he went berserk all of those centuries ago in the first place. Kurama. Sad in Naruto. Do you why I went on that rampage in the first place? Naruto. Confused and curious? No. Actually, to be honest, I don't even think anyone in both the yokai and Shinto faction knows why you went berserk in the first place. I even tried to ask Lady Amaterasu of why you went on a rampage in the first place. But even though she didn't even know exactly, you essentially came out of nowhere and wreaked havoc on everyone. Kurama. Sad, and it was because I lost the woman I love, my wife Tomomo no Mae. This shocked Naruto to think his ancestor was married to the other legendary fox demon of legend Tomomo no Mae. But as soon as Kurama said that, Naruto became both surprised and curious, since if she was Kurama's wife, then that would mean she gave birth to his children, which would also make him her descendant as well. Kurama, seeing that Naruto putting the pieces together, decided to confirm his descendants' suspicions. Kurama. Serious, that is right, Naruto. Just like you have my blood flowing through your veins, you also carry the blood of the legendary nine-tailed fox of legend, Tomomo no Mae. Naruto. Shocked, but how? It was never mentioned by anyone that your wife Tomomo no Mae was your wife, or her being the husband of another nine-tailed fox. Kurama. Your wife for her being the husband of another nine-tailed fox. Kurama? Sad and well, that's mostly because our marriage was kept since at the time she was being chased by the Emperor's army. I would imagine the only people who know of this information are my descendants, as well as the older Yakai on top of the primordial Shinto gods, Izanami and Izanagi. You see, when Tomomo was fleeing from the Emperor's castle due to her being discovered being not only kitsune, but also being blamed for the unknown illness that befallen on him, she randomly wandered into the forest that I was currently taking residence. She was so scared and alone, I did everything in my power to help her. At first she didn't entirely trust me since after being betrayed by the person who she thought loved her, she couldn't really trust anyone. Smiles softly, But eventually we started to become close, she started to develop trust in people and started to fall in love with me, and I started to feel the same. For a time we were happy and felt like there was a bright future ahead of both of us. We eventually got married and had children of our own. Saddened, but sadly those times didn't last long. Naruto, saddened but curious what happened. Kurama closes his eyes in sadness. The Emperor's army found her and started an all-out attack. She told me to take our children and get away as far as possible since they were after her, and not us. I tried pleading with her that I would hold them off while she escaped with our children, but being the trickster that she was, she teleported both me and our children far away enough for us to escape. I quickly ran back to her, eyes narrowed, but when I got there it was too late. She had died in her fox form in a pool of her own blood. As I shed tears of sadness, I begged the Shinto pantheon to bring her back. I roared my feelings to the heavens themselves to please bring her back, but no one answered. I then began to wallow in grief for the woman that I loved, and that grief slowly turned into rage and anger towards the Shinto pantheon. At the time I felt it was unjust to what happened to her to hunt down and kill the way she was. It was then I snuck into the Lee lines and tapped into its spiritual power. I wanted to take revenge on the Shinto for standing idly by while Tamamo suffered and leaving my children without a mother. It was then the other Yakeis found out what I was doing and tried to stop me. When I tried to explain to them why I did what I did, they didn't care. They just saw me as a traitor to both the Shinto faction as well as the Yakai faction as a whole. It was then my rage reached a whole level, since I couldn't believe that they blindly side with those being that they call gods that probably don't give a rat's ass about them. That's how legendary Rampage came to be. It wasn't until my death I realized I had forgotten the important thing left behind by my beloved Tamam, or our children. During my revenge I had completely forgotten about my children's well-being. Not only had they lost a mother, but also a father as well. I let my rage consume, and both my children and descendants had to suffer for it, just how my dear Tamamo did. Naruto was in absolute shock from the tale he had just heard. This entire time his great ancestor wasn't just a selfless monster, but a man who was just broken beyond repair because he had lost the woman he loved the most. It was then Naruto tried to put himself in Kurama's position, and imagine if that was Hinata who was in Tamamo's situation. He would no doubt get angry the same way his ancestor did, but at the same time if he and Hinata truly did have children, then she would want him to take care of them. Kurama, sad, and Naruto. Naruto, startled, what is it? Kurama, sad, and I can tell from your expression that you also have someone close to you that you love more than anything in the world, and you would sacrifice anything for that person. Naruto, serious, I do. Smiles fondly. Humph. Well, in that case, as a piece of advice from an old fox like myself, be better than me. Naruto, eyes widen in shock. Kurama smiles warmly. If you truly love this girl, then make sure you do everything in your power and that she is the happiest woman in the world. Naruto smiles. I will. It was then that Kurama started to disappear into red particles. Kurama smirks. Humph, I guess our time is up. Marito smiles. Sadly, I see. Well, I guess it was kind of nice to get to meet my actual ancestor for once. Kurama smirks. I'm glad to actually meet one of my descendants doing so well. But before I go, I think there's someone who would very much like to talk to you. Naruto, confused, but before Noro could get an answer, Kurama fully disappeared, leaving Naruto confused in the same area that he was in. Naruto, confused, what the hell was he talking about? Who the hell wanted to talk to me? Smiles Naruto. Naruto, surprised. When Naruto turned around, he was a beautiful woman. She had a fair-skinned and slender woman of feminine build with blue eyes. She had red hair just like Naruto, as well as red fox ears and 9 tails. Her hair was straight and reached her ankles with shoulder-length strands that framed both sides of her face and a black clip that parts her hair to the left. She wore a high-collared, sleeveless blouse under a long, loose-fitting dress with a wristband on her left wrist and standard shinobi sandals. Naruto could only stare in shock since he knew who this woman was, since Yusaku has shown her paintings of her when was younger, but he just never thought in his entire life he would actually be able to see her. Naruto. Completely shocked. Smiles. My, have you grown? You've grown to be such a handsome young, just like we thought you would. Naruto. Still completely shocked. Links and confusion. Naruto. Are you okay? Sighs in annoyance. Oh no, don't tell me that Yasaka actually forgot who I was now. Honestly, Yasaka, I would have really thought you would tell Naruto who Minato and I were. I know that you're a leader of a faction, and all, but at least honor your best friend's dying wish, you know. Naruto. Eyes widen. You said you know? Furious? Smiles sheepishly. Yeah. I tried to keep it under control, but I can't help it when I get excited. It was then Naruto's body started to shake uncontrollably, that was unnoticed by the red-haired beauty. Smiles. Well, since Hayasaka forgot to tell you who I was, I guess I'll do it myself. To make it short, I'm your. But before the mysterious red-headed beauty could speak, she was interrupted when Naruto ran up to give her a hug and not wanting to let go. All the while shedding tears, not out of sadness but out of joy, since he was finally able to meet her, his mother, Kishimi Izanki. Naruto. Shedding tears. I wanted to meet you for so long, Mom, you know? Kushina. Smiles. Happily. You just said you know, there is no doubt that you are my child. It was then, Naruto backed away from Kushina with a smile on his face. Naruto. Smiles. I have so many questions. Kushina. Smiles. I will be glad to answer any question that you have. It was then both Naruto and Kushina began talking to one another, to which Kushina explained that the reason why she and Naruto were able to talk to each other like this was mostly likely what happened with him and Kurama. Naruto would tell Kushina that he still couldn't believe how beautiful his mom was, even though he had seen the painting that Yusaku had shown him. This of course caused Kushina to giggle in delight, and told Naruto that he was the second man who has ever complimented her red hair. This of course led to her telling the story of how she and Miyanobu met. Naruto then explains his life living with Yasaka and how he met Sasuke, as well being an older brother to Kunu. He told her about his training with Jiraiya, which slightly concerned Kushina because she really hoped that Naruto wouldn't become a complete pervert like him, but was a bit relieved when she heard that Tsunade was keeping him on a leash. He then told her about Issei and how he was the one that helped him overcome his fear of accepting his ancestors' power, which made Kushina so happy that her son made such a wonderful, and that she truly wished that she was alive to meet and thank the boy that helped her son. It was then Naruto grew a slight blush and regrettably told his mother about his crush on Hinata, to which Kushina grew a wide mischievous grin, which made Naruto pale of what his mother was gonna say about that. Kushina grins mischievously. So this Hinata girl that you like, have you confessed? Naruto blushes shyly. Well, no. Kushina smiles teasingly. Ah, come on. I know that no son of mine is that much of a chicken. Nero blushes shyly. Well, it's complicated, Mom. She's a princess of a prestigious shinobi clan that has a lot of support from the East Yokai faction, and they wouldn't let someone like her go out with, let alone marry someone who is a descendant of Kurama, you know. Kushina huffs while having her arms crossed. Nonsense. A Uzumaki never backs down just because something is in front of them. Naruto looks down. Kushina smiles softly. Naruto, do you really love Hinata? Naruto blushes nervously. Well, yeah, since she was one of the very few people in my life outside of Yasaka, as well as the pervy sage and Granny Tsunade, that accepted me. At first I thought she was just being kind, but over the years we became close. That feeling of friendship slowly but surely turned into love. Smiles fondly. She even complimented my hair, to which it felt very special to me, since one of the main insults that I got from everyone was how disgusting my hair was, since it was essentially like a mark, saying that I was a descendant of Kurama. Upon hearing what her son just said, Kushina couldn't help but beam with excitement and joy, because she had no doubt that her son actually found the one. Kushina, giddy. Oh, she said the magic words? Erito. Confused magic words. Kushina smiles happily. That's right. Do you remember how I told you that you were the second man that ever complimented the color of my hair? Burrito. Confused. Yeah, you told me that Dad was the first person. Why does that have to do with anything? Bashina smiles softly. Yes, but what I didn't tell you is that there are special words that I give to those men. Will you accept Naruto? Naruto nods happily. Of course. Bashina smiles softly. I love you. Naruto was a bit surprised by what his mother just told him, but smiled all the same, since a part of him always dreamed of hearing those exact same words from his real mother, which will no doubt treasure for the rest of his life. It was then Kushina started to turn into red particles just like Kurama, signifying that their time was up. Kushina smiles. Sadly, it seems that our time is up. Naruto. Sad, and it would seem so. Smiles softly, but the time I spent here was something that I will never forget. Thanks to my friends, I started to finally realize that I'm not just a descendant of Kurama, but something more, something better. Just knowing that wonderful parents like you and Dad just fill me with so much joy and pride. I honestly couldn't ask for better parents. Ficina couldn't help but start to tear up since she was so overjoyed that her son didn't hold any resentment towards her or her husband Minato. Being overwhelmed with emotion, she jumped towards Naruto, giving her a huge hug as she continued to disappear. Ficina smiles happily. Are you listening to this, Minato? Our hopes and dreams did reach our boy. Thank you for letting Minato be your father. Thank you for letting me be your mother, Naruto. But that Kushina left in red particles, leaving Naruto smiling warmly that he was able to see the mother that he heard so much about from everyone. It was then the scenery changed back to his normal mindscape to where he fought Kyuubi, and in front of him was a giant spectral red nine-tailed fox made out of chakra. Naruto, serious. I'm no longer just a demon fox or the descendant of Kurama. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm going to be the strongest nine-tailed fox in history and protect the people who I hold dear. With that declaration made, Naruto held out his hand, in which the spectral fox slowly began into Naruto. Meanwhile, outside, it had been a few minutes since Naruto's demonic chakra started to calm down as well as not erupt violently. Everyone thought that Naruto had finally done it and defeated his inner fox demon. But when they noticed that Naruto hadn't exited his meditative position, they became deeply concerned, especially Asaka, since she wondered what happened to her son. Asaka. Concerned, what's going on? Shouldn't Naruto have returned from his mindscape? Amaterasu. Serious, he should have, but something is keeping him there. But to what I don't know. Asaka. Concerned, but what should we do? Tsunade. Serious. The best thing that we could do is wait, and hope that what he does is not damaging to either his physical or mental well-being. Jiraiya. Smirk. Something tells me that he's doing super flashy, any moment now. Asaka. Tsunade. Amaterasu. Confused. Asaka. Confused. What do you mean, Jiraiya? Sasuke. Chuckles while smirking. Yeah, no doubt that definitely sounds like Naruto. Every time he accomplishes something, he has no choice but to have the urge to show off in front of everyone. But before any of the three women could question further, the ground beneath them started to rumble. Well, both Sasuke and Jiraiya just smirked since they knew what was essentially about to happen. Rumble. Asaka. Confused? What's going on? Amaterasu? Confused? An earthquake. Tsunade? Eyes narrowed. No, it's not an earthquake. But I feel like I know who's causing it. Both Hayasaka and Amaterasu were confused on what Tsunade just said until they remembered what Jiraiya and Sasuke just said and looked towards Naruto. The three women couldn't believe that the one that was causing this was actually Naruto, who was still inside the barrier that was strong enough to contain Kurama. Jiraiya. Sasuke. Smirks. He's coming. As soon as Jiraiya and Sasuke said those words, a scarlet flash engulfed Naruto, and an enormous amount of power began to erupt from Naruto. Everyone was a bit taken back by the amount of power that Naruto was releasing, and they did everything in their power to help contain the explosion by strengthening the barrier. But to everyone's shock, the barrier began to crack, which shouldn't even be possible. Sasuke couldn't help but smirk that Naruto became strong enough to actually destroy the barrier that was said to be able to hold his ancestor during his rampage. Asaka. Shocked, what, not even the Crimson Barrier is strong enough to contain this power? Amaterasu. Concerned, this is bad. We don't know what will happen if this chakra were to escape from the barrier, as well as we don't know what kind of state that Naruto is in. But before anyone could say or do anything, a voice spoke which was coming from inside the barrier, and it was one that all of them recognized. Naruto grins. Come on, Lady Amaterasu, you know better not to underestimate me. Amaterasu shocked her. Naruto smirks. I'm not just the descendant of the demon Kurama, I'm also the descendant Tamamo no Mei, and I'm going to be the strongest nine-tailed fox in existence, you know. Everyone was beyond shocked from what they just heard. Naruto was also the descendant of the other legendary fox of legend, who had said to be the cause of the death of Emperor Toba as well as the end of the Shang dynasty. The one who was most shocked was Amaterasu, since originally Tamamo was a part of her original soul who she decided to allow it to give it a life of its own, but she never knew that a fragment of herself would have any children, and with Kurama of all people. But before Amaterasu could think any more on the subject, the giant amount of scarlet energy that surrounded Naruto and shot upward, forming a pillar and breaking the barrier. Everyone skidded back a few feet due to the force of the blast, but they were the amount of power that Naruto was releasing. It was no doubt that it was the power of the legendary nine-tailed fox demon of legend, but it was also different. The power that Naruto was releasing was not only demonic, but also warm and full of light, as well as beaming kindness. The power that Naruto could feel throughout all of Japan, yakeis from all over the land could sense the power of the demon fox Kurama, but felt that was something different about it. Like it wasn't felt with bloodlust or malice, it was calm, warm, and kind. Meanwhile in Kanto, in the Kanto district which is the home of the East Yokai faction, lies the residence of the Hyuga clan, a prestigious shinobi clan to serve the Shinto gods, as well as to help maintain the balance between yokai and humans. In one of the many rooms of the Hyuga residence was Hinata Hyuga, who was casually brushing her after finishing taking a bath. She was currently thinking about making a trip to Kyoto to visit Naruto, who was the boy that she developed a deep crush for despite what he was descended from as well as what her family has told her about him. But as she was thinking of this, a huge wave of energy reached her home, which surprised her. She focused on where the energy was coming from, only to be shocked not only where it was coming from, but who was causing it. To which Hinata formed a soft smile, while a light blush formed on her cheeks. Hinata smiled softly while blushing. Naruto come back in Yukasa's palace. When the pillar finally died down, what stood in the middle shocked everyone. Naruto's pupils became slitted, the whisker-like markings on his face became thicker to resemble a trigram. But the most important change was that Naruto was completely glowing in a fiery orange color which represented his chakra. The chakra around Naruto seemed to have to make a shroud to resemble a full-length Hiyori. Everyone was beyond amazed of the amount of power Sa was releasing, but they were mostly proud, since now Naruto was finally able to accept himself fully. Yusaka, being the proud mother that she was, couldn't look up to the sky with tears of joy running down her face, hoping that her best friend Kushina was currently watching on how much Naruto had grown. Yusaka, mind, smiles happily while shedding tears. Do you see him, Kushina? Look how much our son has grown. I know if you were here right now, you would be so proud of him just like I am. Sasuke couldn't help but have a challenging smirk plastered on his face, but it was then the tones around the eyes began to spin, forming a new shape. The eyes took the shape of 3 intersecting ellipses with what looked like a shuriken embedded in the middle of both of them. Sasuke mind smirks. You've finally gotten stronger, Naruto. It seems that I need to start training seriously now. Upon seeing his godson's new transformation as well as being proud of him that he was able to finally accept himself, there was something that he was curious about. He wanted to know who or what was the driving force that gave Naruto the push that he needed to actually want to try to control his demonic chakra. He then looked over to Yusaka to see if she knew the answer to his question. Jiraiya. Curious Lady Yusaka, can I ask you something? Yusaka. Startled, curious, what is it, Jiraiya? Jiraiya? Curious. I'm just curious, what was it that caused Naruto wanting to finally face his inner demons once and for all? Isaka. Smiles fondly, it was the current Red Dragon Emperor, Issei Imaya. He was the one that convinced Naruto to face his inner demons. This shocked both Tsunade and Jiraiya, since they didn't believe that the Red Dragon Emperor of all people would be the one to help someone like Naruto overcome his fears of the power he was born with. Then there was the name of the current Red Dragon Emperor, and Jiraiya could have sworn he heard that name, or at least part of it before. Jiraiya, thinking whom? Lady Isaka. Did this as a person have brown spiky hair and light brown eyes? Isaka blinks in surprise. Yes, he did. How do you know, Tsunade? Curious, what are you getting at, Jiraiya? Amaterasu. Curious. I am also curious that my little son has anything to do with this. After a few moments of thinking, Jiraiya's eyes widened in realization, since he now remembered seeing a brown-haired boy with that name with two of his best friends and saying that he was their nephew, godson. Jiraiya. Eyes widen in realization, I know him. Everyone? Shocked and confused, it was then Naruto who deactivated his new form and confronted his godfather on how the hell did he know about Issei before him. Naruto? Shocked, how the hell do you know about Issei, pervy sage? Hisoka? Curious, I would also like to know. Jiraiya smiles. Yeah, I actually met him a couple years ago. He was a sweet kid with a lot of potential. I actually wanted him and Naruto to meet back then, but of course, complications happened. At this, Tsunade widened in realization, since she knew about who Jiraiya was talking about now. Tsunade, shocked Jiraiya. You don't mean? Jiraiya smiles while nodding. Yep, both Azazels and crows. Godson. Everyone blinks in confusion. Shocked. Everyone couldn't believe what they just heard. This entire time Issei was family with the same race that caused him so much pain and suffering, as well as thrust him into the supernatural world in the first place. It was then that Madarasa marched up to Jiraiya with a smile that can burn anyone in her path. The Madarasa smiles while releasing bloodlust. Jiraiya, do you care to explain why those filthy crows dare to call my little son their godchild? At this, Jiraiya couldn't help gulp in fear, because the last thing he wanted to do was get on Amaterasu's bad side and get his ass burned to a crisp. He also couldn't help but think in annoyance on what the hell did his best friends Azazel and Crow do to get him into this situation. It was then Yasaka chimed in and told both him and Tsunade what happened to Issei and why Amaterasu is on edge about the fallen angels. To which Jiraiya and Tsunade were saddened by what happened to Issei, since they knew Azazel wouldn't order a hit on his godson for anything. It was then Jiraiya started to explain how he met Issei in the first place. Jiraiya. Serious. I met Issei a few years ago, when he was about 9 years old. He was with Azazel and Crow. He was both Azazel and Crow's godson, since Raven was very good friends with Issei's mother. Tsunade sighs. That poor woman. I still remember how I had to comfort her after she found that Azazel cheated on her and got their divorce. Jiraiya sighs anyway. Issei had a lot of magical potential inside of him, as well as, from what I could tell, a powerful sacred gear. Smiles fondly. He was a sweet kid and very innocent that always knew how to lighten up someone's day. He also had an amazing singing voice. Grins pervertedly. Which was also great, because a lot of ladies would come and compliment us for being such an amazing dad and whatnot. Smack. Jiraiya. In pain. Yoa. Tsunade. Annoyed with a tick mark. Get to the point. Jiraiya groans. Anyway, I wanted to ask Azazel and Crow if it was possible for us to schedule a meeting for him and Naruto to meet, since I thought they would make very good friends. Sad, and though sadly that never happened. Naruto. Curious, what happened? Jiraiya. Saddened, both his powers and memories were sealed. It turns out that Issei had secretly had his powers unlocked and was getting too powerful. Sasuke. Confused. Too powerful. Tsunade nods. It turns out that Issei's parents never wanted him to unlock his powers, since they were afraid of him not only being dragged into the supernatural at such an early age, but they didn't want him to have a target on his back. Jiraiya. Serious as such, in order to protect him, they placed a seal on him which locked away both his powers and memories until he was ready. But it seems he might have accidentally forcefully unlocked his seals, allowing his sealed-up power to leak. Everyone was shocked by this new information, to think that Issei had become so powerful at such a young age that his own family had to seal that power for his own good. Everyone could already guess how strong Issei is currently, but they couldn't even imagine how strong he would have been if his powers were not sealed and trained up to this point. It could have been possible that he could have been on par with Sirzechs or maybe even the heavenly dragons themselves. Though this also made Naruto and Sasuke wonder what would have been like if he had met Issei earlier. Naruto thought if he met Issei sooner, he would have been able to accept himself sooner or maybe confess his love to Hinata. Sasuke also wondered what his life would have been like if he had met Issei sooner. Could he have been one of the ones besides Naruto to stop him from taking on the dark path that he was on a few years ago? So many questions filled both the teens' heads, but in the end decided to discard it since it didn't matter at this point, and we're just glad that they got to meet him now. Scene change. I do residence about 30 minutes before Naruto's power release. Currently, we see Issei in his room in a cross-legged position with a bunch of weapons around him, or to be precise, a bunch of replicated weapons that he had been trying to copy from the book that his father gave to him last night. It had been a little bit over an hour since Issei had returned home from school and decided since both Riaz and Asia weren't coming back home from contracts till close to midnight, he decided to do some practice with his family magic. His parents had already taught them their respective magic when the time was right, with Mickey teaching Issei Light Dragon Slayer magic and Territory magic. Gora said that he sadly couldn't teach Issei Gem Mage Craft until they had a proper workshop to work into, which Issei said he would get that covered pretty soon, which Gora curious, but decided to trust his son on getting a workshop up and going. He did, however, give him some tips on how to perform his family's version of projection and tracing so he could get used to creating weapons on the fly, to which Issei was super excited since he was heavily interested in his father's and grandfather's abilities. Ora also said that he will train him on to use his time manipulation ability in the future, but Issei felt like he had a rough idea on how to do it, given not only having Quicksilver style, but also the fact he remembered using when was younger, but he thought a refresher course wouldn't hurt. Ursa, Ingvald, and Leonardo were out with his mother shopping and getting them the essentials for living here with them. Though Issei didn't know why, he sensed that his mother was getting both Ursa and Ingvald perverted clothing in order to seduce him and hopefully impregnate them. Right now, Issei had the handle of being able to create some of the weapons that were his family's journal, but he felt he's still a ways to go before being able to craft divine constructs, since they were a bit more complex, since most of them were forged by gods and held divine magic, but was confident that he will close that gap soon enough, especially since there was certain item in this book he wanted to able replicate, since no doubt it would prove useful in his more tougher battles. Greg smirks. You're getting pretty good at projecting weapons, partner? Issei smirks while nodding. Yeah, looks like I'm going to create an almost perfect copy of at least most of the holy and demonic weapons from this book, which is impressive on its own. Nero smirks. Though you can't replicate DSD or Yamato, I see. Serious? Well, that's because both DSD and Yamato are extremely unique to the point that they are literally one of a kind. I guess Bart and Murameso were more cautious than we thought, and such that there was no way to properly replicate these swords. Even if both Azazel and Ajuka were to study for centuries, they wouldn't even be able to scratch the surface of what these swords can really do, especially since they need the power of Sparta to do so. And since you, Dante, and Virgil are already dead, then there is really no way to tap into the true power of these swords. Nero smirks. Hey, don't count yourself out yet, kid. Remember, I poured a little bit of my demonic power into you, as well as you absorbing the demonic energy from both DSD and Yamato. You're essentially a pseudo-Sparta at this point. BSA. Serious? Maybe. But this still doesn't mean I will be able to use their abilities to their fullest extent yet in the future. Natsu, curious. What I'm curious about is why you're making armor when you already have such high defenses in your base form as well as balance breaker. It was then Issei looked to his bed to see a bunch of armor pieces laying around. They weren't anything special or unique about them since they were essentially prototypes. Issei smirks. Well, when Dad told me I can also not only make weapons, but also armor, I thought about Urza, since she no doubt she's going to fight alongside me, and the fact she's still human despite her monster strength. I thought she could use something to help her in different battle situations. Natsu has a shit-eating grin. You know you're going to have to take her measurements in order to get her armor just right. At that comment, Issei's face became completely red since despite her sleeping next to Issei as well as her offering herself to him, a part of him was not comfortable with him being physical with her in that way, since in his mind, Ddraig was still innocent and naive like a child, and with her being a prisoner for most of her life, she had no social skills or probably common sense, and he didn't want to feel like he was taking advantage of her just because he saved her as well as her just bluntly offered herself to him. Issei wouldn't mind being in a relationship with Erza, but he wanted to make sure that she wanted to truly be in one with him as well since he didn't want her to regret her decision. Issei's thoughts were interrupted when Greg chimed in on what was bothering him. Greg. Serious. Well, besides all that, I'm more curious about your teacher since no doubt she's not human or at least not entirely. Issei. Nods yeah. There's no doubt about it. It was then Issei looked to his right and what lay there was red demonic spear. After reading the history of said spear, he remembered that his sensei's name correlated to the person who once owned and used the spear. At first Issei thought she could have been just her descendant, but after doing more research and confirmation from Ddraig, there was no doubt about it. Issei. Serious Scotty Sensei is the legendary queen of the land of shadows, Skathak. But the question is, why is she here? Why the hell did she use her real name as a cover? I mean, I would think someone who has been around for a few centuries would come up with a better name as a cover. At that statement, the woman in question sneezed out of nowhere in her apartment, wondering if someone was talking about her. Greg. Serious. It is possible that she's here because she can sense the abundance of power hanging over your town. Pissei. Curious, but wouldn't that expose her? I mean, if she's trying to keep a low profile, wouldn't she have chosen a place with less supernatural activity? Greg. Thinking him it could be that due to her nature and history. Issei. Curious, what do you mean, Greg? Greg. Serious. I'm a little hazy on the details, but one of my previous hosts was an acquaintance of one of her students, Coachlin. Issei. Shocked is the legendary Ulster Child of Light. Greg. Snickers. Yeah, but I found his other nickname Cucullin's Hound more suitable given his personality. Serious, but yes, that very same. From what I remembered, Cucullin described, Skathak has both the aura of a queen and a teacher to which she was kind, but also strict. Issei at that couldn't help but sweat drops since that definitely describes Katie Sensei in a nutshell. Since whenever he or his friends, Matsuda and Motohama, got in trouble peeking at the kendo girls, she was relentless in scolding them. But looking back on it, Issei did feel that Scotty Sensei was a bit more lenient towards him compared to his two friends, in which sometimes he felt like Scotty Sensei was being close to that of an older sister to him. This also made the brown-haired boy wonder if it was possible that she was only acting that way since no doubt she sensed that he had the boosted gear inside of him, or could she had sensed his seals be broken down, or maybe was it something else entirely. But Issei decided to put that thought in the back of his mind for the most part. Greg. Serious. But as for the reason why she is probably here is mostly to look for a new student to train. Curious. A new student. Greg. Nods. That's correct. Though she only teaches those with a lot of potential in them whether they have a sacred gear or not. But it is only to satisfy her own ambition or wish, per esse pissit. Curious, what wish? Greg. Serious, she wishes for someone to kill her in battle. Pissit. Shocked, what? Why? Greg. Serious, she has been around for centuries, and she has gotten to the point that she is more or less a pseudo-god of sorts. But due to her being raised as a warrior, the only ending that she seeks is that of in battle, but sadly, every warrior she had come across has never been a match for her, thus leaving her in utter disappointment. Though there was one being from what I've heard she is completely terrified of facing. Issei. Surprised but also curious, really. Who? Greg. Grins, why your great-great-great-grandfather Skudrum, the celestial dragon of shadows and darkness. Issei. Shocked, what? Greg. Snickers. Yep, apparently a long time ago Saidram entered the land of shadows to make it his home. Now this was before Rogue came into the picture, so his personality was a bit different, to which he was a bit more aggressive and hostile to those around him. When Skatha became both the ruler and ruler of the land of shadows, she wanted Scatram to either leave or submit to her, and as you know how we dragons can get when we're being forced to do what, right? Issei. Serious, let me guess. Great-grandpa Scatram practically beat her to a bloody pulp. Greg. Sighs if only in truth Skydram went fucking Besseract and wreaked havoc in the land of shadows to the point he almost destroyed it completely. Even with all the skills that Scathach had obtained over the years, it was completely a dragon like Skydram who was truly one with the shadows. Since then, she supposedly developed a deep fear for Skudram, so much so she didn't want to go up against Vertra, who was Skudram's student, and when she heard about Rogue, she made it almost a personal mission to stay away from him. Issei honestly had no words to think he was related to a being who even one of the greatest and strongest warriors in human history was afraid and petrified of. This also made Issei worried as well, since if Scotty-sensei were to find out he is related to the very dragon that she is afraid of, she might try to kill him out of fear. Issei needed to find a way to show her that he was a threat to her and hopefully become allies. But his thoughts were interrupted when he, as well as the rest of the residents of the boosted gear, felt a huge energy surge hit him. Issei. Shocked. What the hell was that? Nero? Serious. I don't know, but it was powerful, no doubt about it. Natsu. Serious. It didn't seem to come from inside Kwa, but definitely from somewhere in Japan. Greg. Serious. From what I could tell from it, it seems to be similar to that of a yakai. Issei. Serious yakai. It was then Issei closed his eyes and started focusing his senses from where the energy signature was coming from. Thanks to the small tips that Naruto and Isaka told him about senjutsu, he was able to sense the natural flow of things, though he had to admit he was a complete novice at it, and no doubt had a long way to go. A part of him really hoped he might be able to see Naruto or Yusaku again in hopes he could learn more about senjutsu as well as Taki. But after a few minutes of his eye locating where the energy was coming from, he couldn't help but have a soft smile on his face because he now knew where the energy was coming from and who it was that was causing it. Issei smiles softly. Naruto, you did it, you finally accepted yourself. Greg. Curious, are you sure that it's him? Issei nods, no doubt about it, since it has the same energy that I sensed was deep down inside Naruto during our spars. Natsu grins. Damn, with that much power, he might be able to push you to go into the balance breaker. Issei smirks. Maybe if my powers were still sealed, but what I'm currently at is unknown. Plus, we both need time to refine as well as control these new powers of ours. Nero smirks. Well, whatever the case, maybe I would imagine Sasuke will be a bit annoyed that Naruto got so strong. Issei smiles confidently. I wouldn't worry about Sasuke. Nero. How so? Issei smiles confidently. Even though I accepted both Naruto and Sasuke as my rivals, Sasuke and Naruto are true rivals. No doubt, Sasuke, seeing his one true rival become so strong, he will no doubt close the gap in no time in order to fight on equal terms. It honestly reminds me of both Ddraig's and Uncle Albion's rivalry. Chuckles. Honestly, I can't believe that the factions think that both of you guys are enemies just because of what the previous hosts did by killing each other over and over again. Ddraig laughs honestly. Issei remembered one of the talks he had with Albion and Ddraig, to which he and Vala found out the truth about their battles, to which they just wanted to become dragon gods, just like what their parents dreamed of. The reason why they fought each other so much was to gauge each other's progress, but just when they both felt like they were on the verge of becoming celestial dragons, they were rudely interrupted by the factions and were killed. Greg smiles fondly, but I will admit seeing how those two fight and bicker with one another definitely remind me of both me and Albion's rivalry, and how we constantly piss each other off in order to motivate one another to get stronger. Smirks. The Shinto faction better watch out, since no doubt those two will become serious powerhouses in the future. Issei smirks. Now that I have no doubt in my mind, I honestly can't wait to spar with them again. It was then Issei's thoughts were interrupted again when Ursa came in through the door. She was currently wearing white hoodie that caressed her breasts, and on top she wore a blue blazer. She was wearing a blue patterned skirt. She wore dark blue knee-high socks while wearing black and white sneakers. She was currently holding a couple of shopping bags from different stores. Smiles, master, we're back. Issei smiles while chuckling, I can see that. Do you, Ingvold and Leonardo, enjoy your time shopping? Urza nods. Happily, we did. I couldn't believe the amount of cute clothes that stores had. Issei mind smiles softly. Well, at least she's enjoying some of the basic aspects of being a normal teenage girl. Issei smiles softly. Well, I bet that you looked lovely in all of them. At that, Urza couldn't help but blush, since ever since meeting Issei, Urza had grown quite attracted towards him, more so than the actual master and servant relationship, but something much deeper and personal. She didn't know how to explain it, but she liked it, and wanted to explore more this new feeling that she was having towards Issei. Urza smiles while blushing shyly. Thank you, master. Issei smiles softly. You're quite welcome. It was then Urza looked around Issei's room and saw a bunch of weapons on the floor, to which she guessed that Issei was practicing his projection magic, to which she saw a lot of cool and interesting weapons. She then looked over to the bed and saw a bunch of different armor parts laying the ground, and got curious as to why her master would ever need to create armor when his skin is already hard as steel, on top of having his balance breaker armor. Urza curious, master, why are these pieces of armor here on your bed? I wouldn't think you would need armor given your base stats and skills. Issei smiles softly. I'm actually doing this for you. Urza surprised while blushing a bit for me. Issei nods. I remember you asking me back in Hawaii if I could make armor for you, and after talking to my father as well as finding out that it is possible, I decided to try and figure it out, since no doubt you're going to be fighting alongside me. It wouldn't hurt for you to have some protection, especially since you are still human, and who knows when I'll get my evil pieces. It's not much now, but hopefully, I'll get something going soon. Urza was beyond touched that the boy that was saved was willing to go that far for her own safety. It was then she felt heart tighten slightly at the sight of his Issei, and couldn't help but wonder. Urza mind curious, am I falling for, master? It was then Urza shook that thought of her mind for the time being and reached into the shopping bag she was carrying, which made curious on what she was doing. I say, curious Urza, what are you doing? Urza, smiling while looking through bag. There's something that I wanted to show you that your mother recommended for me. Issei mind, sweat drops while deadpanning. This can't be good if my mom is involved. Greg Natsuniro. Deadpan, yep. Urza smiles happily. There it is. It was then Urza took a pair red and black lingerie that is no doubt from those XXX stores. Issei couldn't help but have a complete nosebleed, as well as have an expression that said, what in the absolute fuck? Issei shocked while trying to cover his bleeding nose. Urza, where the hell did you get that? Urza smiles happily and innocently. You like it? Your mother said that this outfit would be perfect for when it was time to give her grandchildren. Issei mind, shocked and slightly annoyed. What the hell, Mom? It was then Ingvild entered the room wanting to see Issei and see how his day was before taking a bath, until she saw Ursa showing Issei the embarrassing lingerie that Mickey convinced them to get in order to help them get closer to his Issei. Completely red, what are you doing? Mind confused. That's what I would like to fucking know. Smiles. I was just showing Master some of the things we bought while shopping. Completely red. Yes, but that. Urza. Confused, but why? Yours is a lot nicer than, to be honest, I say. Confused while sweat dropping. What? Envold. Blushing in embarrassment. No, Urza. Don't. It was then Ursa reached into one of the other bags, to which she pulled out a purple lingerie, but with the main differences being that there were holes in which the nipples would be, as well the area that would be Ingvild's womanhood. Upon seeing that, and then imagining someone like Ingvild wearing something like this, caused Issei to have another nosebleed that came out like a geyser. Due to all the blood leaving him, Issei ended up becoming passed out, causing worry for both Urza and Ingvild. Ingvild, concerned Master Issei-san. Upon hearing the commotion, came in to see what happened, but upon seeing both his son's expression as well as seeing the special lingerie that she helped buy for his new daughter-in-laws, she knew what happened and couldn't help but smile happily. Mickey? Smiles? He'll be fine. He's just passed out from the amazing pieces of clothing that I got for you. Urzing Wild? Sighs in relief. Thank goodness. Mickey? Serious. But you shouldn't have shown him those outfits yet, smiles deviously. You need to wait until he enters mating season and that you three are locked in a room together. It was then Mickey started to giggle innocently, as if what she just said was not messed up or insane, as well as not knowing that her son was still semi-conscious but was able to hear what his mom just said. But before he completely passed out, he had one last thought on his mind. Issei mind weakly, yep, it's official. My mom is fucking insane. Chapter 10. The Talk. I do residence. Next day, Issei's dreams. Issei had no idea how to explain it since he was either in his mindscape with Ddraig and the others, but he wasn't dreaming either. No. What the brown-haired boy was experiencing was something akin to a memory, but one never recalled. Issei was standing amidst a large war zone, and Issei had the feeling that this memory was before the brown-haired was born, almost possibly a couple 1,000 years before he was born. In the midst this large battlefield, Issei was surrounded bodies, but not of humans, but of demons. Issei could see the bodies of scarecrows like the ones he killed back in New York, but he also other demons of different variety, and some that were a lot more powerful than the scarecrows that he faced before. On his hand, he was holding a sword. It was either the Red Queen, DSD, or Yamato no. What Issei had on his hand was a giant curved blade with a thick organic hide, the curved blade and the color scheme of its guard. However, the sword now has an organic-looking spinal column instead of the one that appeared mechanical with some bony covers below its guard. But what shocked Issei, or at least what should have shocked him, was when he saw his reflection on the blade. Replacing his face was a slightly larger than human-sized, vaguely insected demon with clawed hands, a scaly hide, a pair of downward-facing ram horns, pteropteran wings with beetle-like wings underneath, hooves for feet, and reptilian spikes protruding from his back. Parts of his body appeared to be made of gray scales with accents of red and purple. He also had gold veins on his hands and arms, chest, shoulders and back, a red diamond eye-shaped gem in the center of his forehead, and skull-shaped gold knees and elbow guards with small horns. His most notable feature in his natural form was his slit-like eyes, which glowed red and did not have pupils. But despite his demonic appearance, Issei for some reason was not fazed by it. In fact, the brown-haired boy actually felt quite calm, as if he knew that this was him and not somebody, which confused the brown-haired boy greatly. The same mind, slightly confused. What's going on? Why am I here? Is this some kind of dream? Though those thoughts were quickly interrupted when the ground started to rumble beneath. Normally Issei would be on edge or even a bit petrified, given the amount of power that this rumbling was creating. But the brown-haired remained as if he was expecting this to happen. Or to be precise, he was hoping for this to happen. What appeared in front of Issei was a gigantic living statue of an aging, muscular man with enormous feathered wings that greatly resembled Christian depictions of God. The being had a circular depression in his chest where an eye-like core was located. Upon seeing the angelic being, Issei was swelling with different emotions: calm, hatred, disappointment, and a drive to stop the being in front of him at all costs. It was then being looked down at Issei and spoke in a tone that was filled with disappointment with a hint of venom in place. Glares, so it has really come to this, Sparta. This greatly shocked Issei since the form he had taken was actually the legendary Dark Knight Sparta as well as Nero's grandfather. So many questions were going through the brown-haired boy's mind, as in why did he take the form of Sparta and why wasn't he in his own body? But once again, those questions were interrupted when Issei began to point his blade at the being in front of him. But he didn't fight back or even try, since to him this felt natural, as if he had done this all before. It was then Issei spoke to the enormous being in front of him in a tone filled with venom and disgust. Issei didn't know why he was saying these things, but once again he didn't question it since they felt natural to him, as if someone was pouring the words into him, and he immediately spoke them as they came in. Glares, it's over, Mundus. I've defeated your army, and all that stands between you and peace for humanity is me. Mundus. Glares, how could you betray us, Sparta, your own kind? As Sparta glares, because we had no right to invade their world, they are too weak to defend themselves, and as such there is no honor. Lundus. Glares, honor, how about loyalty? Loyalty to your race and, more importantly, your king. These weak humans don't deserve to live in our world, if God truly loved them, then he wouldn't make them so weak and pathetic. Admit at Sparta, you know that all these humans are good for it to be food to fuel our power. They say Sparta glares no. Humanity is meant for more than that. I may not agree or like God, but I do believe in the potential of what humanity has to offer. If I have to play the role as their protector in order to make that potential realized, then so be it. I will cut down anyone who dares threatens humanity, whether be demon, devil, angel, dragon, or gods themselves. To say Sparta mind serious, I will help keep our promise and protect this race with every fiber of my being, old friend. Mundus. Furious, you fool. Before Issei could register on what he just said and what he meant by it, his body sprang into action as he jumped into the air with his demonic wings spreading out, and his blade ready to cut down the legendary demon king of the Netherrealm. But right before the fight could even begin, Issei's sight went dark as if someone covered his eyes, which greatly confused the brown-haired boy. Issei. Confused, that was so weird. Why the hell did I dream that I was Sparta? I mean, I know that Dragon Nero told me the story of the legendary Dark Knight, but that vision felt way too real for my taste, and that sword I was holding, it wasn't either DSD or Yamato. Thinking it must have been the legendary devil, Sparta, that Nero told me about, the one that fused with rebellion when Dante stabbed himself with it. But that doesn't explain the vision I just had. What could it mean? But before Issei further dwell on that thought, he began to hear noises from somewhere, and he felt like some sort of light was hitting his eyesight. Being irritated by the light, did what he could to cover his eyesight to adjust to the brightness. But when Issei opened his eyes again, he wasn't in total darkness. He could see that it was nighttime, given that the stars were out. But the one thing that caught Issei's attention was that he was in the sky flying and not on the ground. He could tell that he was the one flying since he could feel his wings flapping. But when he looked at his hands, he was shocked that his hand had dark red claws similar to Ddraig, and his body was covered in dark red scales. But just like when he was Sparta, he wasn't panicking as if this was his normal body, and similar to the previous vision, the area seemed to be in ancient times. Issei mind confused, what the hell is going on? Why am I a dragon now? Why am I up in the air? Once again, Issei's thoughts were abruptly interrupted when he heard a voice calling his name, or at least what he believed someone was calling him, since his body moved in response, but was shocked when he found out the name the voice was calling him. Sirius Igliel. The same mind, shocked, wait a minute, this body belongs to Igliel. The person that was calling Issei was a large four-legged dragon, whose appearance differs considerably from a traditional dragon's appearance. Issei could tell that the dragon was female given her characteristics in her voice. She has a white body, which appears to be covered in tissues similar to bird feathers, rather than scales. Her feet resemble bird talons as well. Her head is covered in what appears to be fur, and her skull is somewhat broad and flat. The fur extends down the neck and to the upper chest region. But for some reason, when Issei saw the dragon, and what she looked, he couldn't feel like he had heard that description before. It was until a few moments of going through his memories that his eyes widened in shock as he realized who was calling his name. Issei mind shocked, wait a minute, is that Grand Dini as an Albanajazan's mother that would make her my second Avacyn? Of course, could even begin to ask himself how in the dragon god's names was not only the body of both of his sensei's descendants' bodies, but his own body began to move on its own again and began to speak. I say, Ignil, Sirius, what is it? Grand Dini? Grand Dini? Sirius Metalocana has fallen, and right now both Wazloja and Skydram are currently battling Acnologia. But I fear that they won't last much longer. It was then a cold shiver went down Issei's spine, for the reason the name Acnologia terrified him to the core. Just hearing that name echoing in his mind made the brown-haired boy quiver in fear and his instincts screaming at him to run away. But at the same time, the Brown also felt a large amount of rage when he heard the name Acnologia, as if he wanted to know he needed to destroy this being whatever the cost, and the fact that his great-grandfathers were currently fighting that beast made him want to find this Acnologia person and kill him. Upwinding, seeing the urgency in Grandini's voice, Issei followed the ancient dragoness on where the battle was happening, which didn't take long the closer they got to the battle. The two dragons could sense the immense power from the shock waves of the battle. But by the time both Encelad and Grand Dini arrived, they were already too late. When they arrived, 2 dragons fell from the sky with bodies being torn to shreds. The first one was a light-colored gigantic bearded dragon with feathery angel-esque wings and has 2 comparably small antlers protruding from the top of his head. The underbelly is quite smooth, while the majority of his body, save for part of his feathery windswept face and his spine, which is adorned with a trail of hair that starts from his head, is covered with thick scales. The second was a gargantuan quadrupedal beast. However, unlike most other dragons, he is covered in pitch-black scales atop his head. It had 2 sharp horns and sports a small, pointed beard of shadows on his chin. This dragon had no visible pupils. Between the dragon's horns and running down his spine, the dragon had a mane of shadows. His wings are covered in the same material. Because of the shadows his body is composed of, this dragon had a constant stream of shadows being emitted from his head, wings, spine, and tail. Because of the shadows his body is composed of, this dragon had a constant stream of shadows being emitted from his head, wings, spine, and tail. Issei couldn't help widen his eyes in horror because exactly who these dragons were, since they held a mixture of both his and his mother's aura. Issei mind horrified Oji-san. Issei shocked was Logoskudram. Issei couldn't believe what he just witnessed. He saw his great-grandfather being torn to shreds right before his eyes. He wanted to mourn and grieve for his great-parents, since even though they weren't good people or dragons in this case, but from what he heard from Ddraig that they reformed and became respected role models for what a true dragon should be after raising his grandfathers. But those quickly interrupted when Issei heard someone laughing darkly in the distance. It was then Issei looked up to the source of the laughter with a glare filled with hatred and disgust in his eyes. Issei Hyoudou glares you. The beam that Issei was glaring at was a mastodonic dragon and has an entire upper body covered in black, round scales, which, in turn, are decorated by spiraling blue markings. His lower body, specifically his chin, chest, stomach, inner tail, thighs, and arms, are gray in color and appear to be rather smooth. The dragon's eyes are wide and beady, and his head is round and blunt with 4 large, elongated plates extending backward. Aknologia's mouth is full of razor-sharp teeth, and attached to his chin is a protrusion that resembles an arrowhead. His large wings are feathery in appearance, akin to a bird's, and very similar to fellow dragon Granini. The scales disappear at the end of its tail, which, in itself, ends in a stinger's case shape. Laughs darkly pathetic filthy dragons. Of course, they were no match for me. I will not stop until every dragon in this world is dead, and I claim this world as my own. Issei Hyoudou glares while pointing. Your reign of terror ends now, Agnologia. Grandini. Eyes narrowed. That is correct. Your endless bloodlust to kill our kind ends now, Agnologia. Grins darkly. We shall see about that. It was then both Issei and Hyoudo's body and Grandini began their battle against the dragon known as Agnologia. The battle was fierce to the point that every 3 dragons clashed. It would send shock waves that would destroy the surrounding area. Even with the combined strength of both Issei Hyoudo and Grandini, it wasn't enough to take down Agnologia. Grandini put up an impressive fight, but in the end she was also defeated, which resulted in her death. Though Issei inside the body of the legendary king of the fire dragons was able to put up more of a fight, as well as being able to pull off fire dragon slayer techniques that not even Natsu was able to teach him. But then it happened as both Issei and Agnologia were getting ready for what seemed to be their final attack, in which clashed once more, with Issei being able to rip off one of Agnologia's arms. But what shocked and horrified Issei was when he looked down, he saw his entire chest being blown off. But then it happened as both Issei and Agnologia were getting ready for what seemed to be their final attack, in which clashed once more, with Issei being able to rip off one of Agnologia's arms. But what shocked and horrified Issei was when he looked. Issei couldn't believe what just happened. He lost, and now he was about to die. As he was falling down from the sky, he could see a familiar face looking at him with pure shock and horror. It was Natsu with the boosted gear activated. Issei could sense the amount of fear and sadness that was radiating from both Natsu and Ddraig. But this Issei was mostly sad, and for some reason, he believed that these were no doubt Hyoudo's emotions that he was feeling right now, but he didn't know how he could be having these emotions in the first place. So many questions. Once again, the flood of questions went through the brown-haired boy's mind as he could hear Natsu running towards his descending body with both him and Ddraig from the boosted gear or shouting his name. As in, why was he experiencing all these memories? Why take the form body of his predecessor partner's ancestor? As he was trying to make sense of what was happening to him, he could see Acnologia hovering over reading a powerful attack that would no doubt end him. Issei tried his best to tell Natsu to stay, but he wouldn't listen, which didn't surprise Issei a bit since Natsu was always a stubborn guy who doesn't even listen to logic even though it was the right thing to do. It was then Issei had a flashback of raising both Ddraig and Natsu when they were just children, and the joy that it brought Igneel, which made Issei feel the same amount of joy when he saw those memories. It filled him with a warmth that he had never experienced before. But sadly, the happy ended when Issei saw Acnologia spew a powerful blue beam of energy towards him, and just when the beam was about to hit him, Issei panics, looks around. The next thing Issei knew was he was room awake. He looked behind him and saw that it was possibly early in the morning given the light coming out of the curtains. Issei sighs in relief. Thank goodness it was just a dream. Ingvilder's Asia. Groggy Issei. Sandmaster? Issei. Confused. When Issei looked down he could see that he was surrounded by 3 girls with Ursa and Ingvald taking Issei's arms and Asia laying on top of him. It was then he remembered how he passed from seeing both Ursa and Ingvald lingerie that his mother bought them. He figured that Asia must have come in after she finished her time in the Orc, with Rhea still unable to get inside his room due to her punishment. But the one thing that surprised the brown-haired boy was that he was covered in sweat. He figured that those dreams must have really gotten to him. But before he could dwell on it, he gently patted the girls that were on his bed and let them rest a bit longer since they didn't have today. But he needed to make sure to bring Ursa, Ingvald, and Leonardo to Sona to help get them transferred to Qua Academy. Issei smiled softly. It's okay, you 3, you still have time before we actually have time to get up. Upon hearing Issei's voice that they had still had time to sleep, all the girls returned to sleep until they were ready to awaken. Seeing that they were asleep, Issei quietly sneaked out of the bed to drench his bed in his sweat, and made his way to the bathroom to wash away the sweat. As Issei was washing away all the sweat in the shower, he couldn't help but recall the dreams that he had, and if the brown-haired boy was being honest, something told him that what he experienced were not really dreams but memories. But the part that terrified him the most was when he was fighting against the black dragon named Acnologia. Even though it was just a dream, or at least what he thought was a dream, it felt so real. And despite using everything against him, it wasn't enough to defeat him. Of course, all of this confusion and fear that Issei was experiencing got the attention of Ddraig and the rest of his tenants that were living inside of him. Greg, serious partner, are you okay? Natsu? Serious? Yeah. All this fear and confusion woke us up. Nero, serious? Yeah. And what from we can tell it's got you really worked up. Issei? Surprised? Serious? Oh hey guys. Sorry about that. I just didn't sleep well last night. Greg? Curious. Want to talk about it. Issei honestly didn't know if he should tell Greg and the other 2 about his dreams since he wasn't sure about the meaning of it just yet. But there was one thing that he felt he needed to ask them to be more precise, Ddraig and Natsu, since they were there when it happened. I see, serious. Hey Ddraig. Natsu. Can I ask you guys something? Greg, curious. What is it, partner? Natsu. Curious, sure, what's up? Issei, serious, you both have met and fought against a lot of your dragons in your time, right? This confused the legendary dragon and dragon slayer since Issei was asking such a question out of nowhere. Even Nero was both confused and curious as to why his junior was asking such a question. It was then Issei stepped out of the shower and increased his body heat in order to dry himself instantly, and went to the sink and looked at himself in the mirror and noticed that hair had become a bit more white than it before, but ignored it since he figured that it was genetic sting, since now that he reawakened his family power. Greg, serious, well yes, between me and Natsu and Matan fought against many dragons in our time and in our prime. Natsu? Curious, but still why the question, Issei? Issei. Serious? Do you two know a dragon that went by the name Acnologia? As soon as Issei said that name, both Ddraig and Natsu felt a cold shiver down their spines as if that name alone was taboo and should not be spoken by anyone. Issei could sense the fear and anger inside both of them inside the boosted gear upon hearing that name, which helped confirm one of his suspicions about that dream that he had last night. Natsu? Growls in anger. Issei. How do you know that name, Issei? Serious. I see. So you do know the name? Ddraig growls in anger. Yes, we do all too well, and it is a name that is not to be spoken ever again, especially amongst dragons. So partner, we'll ask again, where did you learn that name? It was then, Issei went on to explain the dream he had last night in which he was in the midst of a battlefield surrounded by the corpse of demons, and that for some reason he was in the body of Sparta, and he was fighting against the demon king Mundus, which surprised Nero greatly since why the hell was Issei dreaming that he was his own grandfather? Issei went on how the dream shifted to him being in the body of Igneel, which greatly shocked both Ddraig and Natsu, but this also made the Welsh dragon narrow his eyes in suspicion because ever since Issei obtained DSD, he had this strange feeling coming off of Issei, which was somewhat familiar to him, but couldn't put his claw on it. Ddraig knew that he would have to discuss this with Natsu when Issei wasn't listening, as well as Nero about Issei's dream about being Sparta. All of them could feel the pain and sadness in Issei's voice when he saw all of his descendants be killed one by Acnologia and how he wasn't strong enough to stop it. Issei. Serious, and that's how it went. So are you two going to tell me who this dragon is, Natsu? Serious, Acnologia is the reason why Dragon Slayer became a lost magic, or to be precise, how it became forbidden magic in the first place. Issei. Shocked. Wait, Slayer magic is forbidden, then why the hell did teach me it, then? Natsu. Serious. Because both me and Iniki here believed we can handle the strain of being a Slayer user, and so far you haven't proved us wrong. Bess. Serious. Okay, but you still haven't answered my question. Natsu? Serious. Do you remember when I told you the repercussions of becoming a dragon demon slayer? Bess raises an eyebrow. Yeah. You said if I were to keep on killing dragons and demons and drown in them, I would eventually succumb to madness and become an evil dragon. Eyes wide in realization. Wait a minute, you guys don't mean Ddraig? Nods. That's right, partner. Acnologia was originally a dragon slayer just like you. Issei couldn't believe what he just heard. The dragon that he saw in his dreams was actually a dragon slayer like himself, and one that was consumed by the power from killing dragons and became an evil dragon himself. Issei couldn't help but be a little bit afraid since he did keep on using his slayer magic, then he will no doubt turn into an evil dragon like Acnologia, but at the same time, he couldn't let himself be controlled by his own fears since he still needed the power of Slayer magic in order to protect the people he cares as well as reach his ultimate goal. Plus he had to remember that he had Ddraig, Natsu and Nero to help him make sure he didn't go off on the deep end, but he needed to know something about Acnologia. Issei. Serious. So is Acnologia dead? Natsu? Serious. Yes. It took the combination of both me and Wendy, as well as both of your great-grandfathers and a few other dragon slayers, but it still wasn't enough to fully take him down. Issei. Shocked. Seriously, then how did you guys kill him? Ddraig. Serious. We were lucky that we had help from Office. Issei. Shocked as in the dragon god of infinity. Ddraig. Nods the very same. It seemed that he also grew fearful of Acnologia since he slowly became close to his level of strength, which meant it wasn't far off from defeating Great Red. Natsu? Serious. The battle was so intense that neither the three factions or any other pantheon wanted to get involved, but at the end we won. But sadly both me and Wendy didn't make it since we even used our very own life force in order to deal the finishing blow to end Acnologia once and for all. Ddraig? Serious. It was decided as to make sure that some dumb fool would try to resurrect him again. We all hid away Acnologia's corpse in the location that not even three factions or any pantheon could find it. The only people who knew the location of his corpse were us along with your great-grandfathers and Office. To this day, It is a well-kept secret that we took the grave both figuratively and literally. Upon hearing that, Issei did feel a sense of relief, since he knew that a dragon that took even a dragon god was fearful of was long dead, since he knew that even if he trained for 100 years, then he wouldn't be able to take down a monster like Acnologia. Not wanting to dwell on it any longer, decided to drop the subject and tell his tenants that he was going to focus on what he needed to do today and get dressed. He decided, since he was finally back after 3 months, that he would cook everyone breakfast, even though he could sense that Riaz wasn't home, which made him suggest that she was probably at the Orc, hopefully trying to fulfill her duties as territory leader. The concept of cooking did excite the brown-haired boy, since cooked either himself or for his family, ever since his memories were sealed, and just having the memory of seeing his grandfather again made him want to get back, and since it was him that got his say into cooking in the first place. But when the brown-haired came downstairs, he was shocked to see his mother without her disguise, and he was in a loosely buttoned white shirt, and just wearing her lingerie while having a cup of coffee. Issei couldn't help but look away in embarrassment, because he couldn't believe his own mother was letting herself in such an undignified manner, and with 2 boys still in the house. Issei couldn't help but look away in embarrassment, because he couldn't believe his own mother was letting herself in such an undignified manner, and with 2 boys still in the house. Mickey? Smiles happily. Morning, sweetie, did you sleep well, Issei? Red from embarrassment. Okay. Send what the hell. Look at how you were dressing, Mickey. Raises an eyebrow. What do you mean? I say. Red from embarrassment. You are practically naked for office sake. Mickey. Smirk. So please, I'm your mother. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Besides, you should be lucky that your mother is good looking as she is to brag about to your friends. I say. Deadpanned. In what universe would someone brag about how hot their mom is to their friends? Mickey smirks. Besides, I'm in my own house, and as such I am allowed to walk around in it however I see fit. So if I want to walk around naked, then I will do it without hesitation. Mind deadpanned. I think I'm starting to understand where my perversion actually came from. Deadpanned. Please don't do that for both our sakes, sighs and annoyance, but that's not the point. You agreed to be a mother figure to both Asia and Leonardo. What kind of example would you be setting for them if they saw you like this? Plus, remember, Asia doesn't know the truth about our family, and if she saw you like this, then it would be hard to explain what we are. You know damn well how easily both Ingvild and Urza can be corrupted, given how you convinced them to buy revealing lingerie. Mickey smiles nonchalantly while waving her hand. Oh, relax. Believe me, I'm well aware where both Asia and Leonardo are in the house, and if I hear Asia coming, I can quickly put on my disguise before she even notices. Besides, I always dress like this whenever you and the rest of the Orc are not in the house. Smirks mischievously. Besides, I wanted to help Ursa and Ingvild to get closer to you. Pouts. I just wish Taisha was there, then it would have been perfect. I say, deadpanned while sweat dropping. Didn't need that last part, but okay. Serious anyway. I'm guessing that Otis-en is at work. Mickey nods. Yes, but he will be coming home late tonight, since he is going to be stopping by one of his storage facilities to pick up some books about magic from the Tasaka and Amaya family. Smirks. He's also getting you books about dual mage craft, especially notes left by your ancestors about his work on the evil pieces. So who knows, maybe you could modify yours further than you already had. Issei. Shocked you knew. Mickey smiles. Foo-foo, sweetie, you don't become the 8th strongest being in the universe just from having raw strength alone. You got to be observative, and be able to think ahead as well as on your feet. Then I'd better make sure that I hide it better than if you sense it. Then no doubt Sirzechs or any of the other devil kings would have noticed, which meant I was probably lucky with Seraphal. Mickey smiles softly. I wouldn't worry about it too much, since if you said that you already met Seraphal, then no doubt she would have spoken to the other devil kings about your evil pieces. Hence, if she didn't know, then no doubt you would have had both Sirzechs and Najuka knocking on your door last night. Bess. Thinking whom? I guess you're right. Mickey smiles. You never underestimate a woman's intuition. Ice. Bess. Mind sweat drops. Why do I feel like that's going to be a recurring thing for me? Issei nods. Anyway, serious, there's something I want to talk to you about, Okuzen, since there's no one around and this seems as good as any time as any. Mickey. Curious, what is it, Issei? It was then Issei sat in the chair that was across from his mother, and once he did that he opened his pocket and pulled out the black pearl that he found in Nero's armory when claiming the Red Queen. Mickey saw the black pearl that her son brought with great interest, since she could sense something draconic from it, but also something familiar as well. Mickey, curious, Issei, where did you get that pearl? Issei. Serious, after I was done with my training, I went to New York to claim the Red Queen, as well as where I first met Ingvild. But when I found the Red Queen, I sensed something familiar within the room where it was being held and found this pearl. After a few moments Natsu told me what this pearl was, or at least who was sealed inside of it. Mickey? Curious who? Essie. Smiles fondly. It's Ragoji-san. His soul resides in this pearl sleeping. Mickey couldn't help but have her eyes widened in shock as she covered her mouth in disbelief. One of her grandfathers was still technically alive inside this pearl, from what she heard that her grandfather Rogue Cheney died from battle. But to think that someone was able to trap his soul inside this pearl did make the old dragon slayer curious on how it was done in the first place. Mickey, curious, what are you going to do with it? Basie. Serious, I'm planning to assimilate it to the boosted gear in hopes to wake him up and hopefully have me train me in Shadow Dragon Slayer magic. Well, you can hopefully teach me White Holy Dragon Slayer magic. Thankfully, summer break starts in a few weeks, which gives some time for me to hopefully grasp the basics of it. Then, I know that the summer break training trip essentially starts practically right after the Leaders' Summit, but I'm extending it so that Issei can do a few things before going to the underworld. Issei mind serious, which is also good for me since it will give me ample time to not only master the family's power, but it will also give me time to properly master the Red Queen, Yamato, and DSD, especially if I use another time dilation barrier. Those for who is going to be my sparring partner when it comes to swordplay. I mean, sure, I could ask Nero to help me, but that will only mentally and it will only take me so far. Size. I'm pretty sure I already surpassed Kiba, in which he wouldn't be able to keep up even if he wanted to. Not wanting to dwell too much about his future training regimen, Issei quickly got up from the chair and grabbed one of the aprons that were hanging in the kitchen. The gesture surprised Mickey greatly. She honestly didn't remember the last time her son decided to cook something for himself. Mickey? Surprised to say you're actually going to cook. Issei raises an eyebrow. Is there something wrong with that? Mickey nods. No, it's just I honestly can't remember the last time you cooked. Issei smiles warmly. Well, after the seals on my memories were undone, and I had the chance to go through them again, I began to remember all the fun times I had in the kitchen with Aji-san. Chuckles, I guess you cannot relive my love for cooking as for other things I haven't done in a while. Since Ingvild, Urza, and Leonardo are new to our home, I thought it would be nice to make a delicious home-cooked meal. Nikki? Smiles warmly. That's very sweet of you, Ice. Smirks. What a good way to let the girls know that you're indeed husband material. The same mind, sweat drops of course. Leave it to Oka-san to make something so sweet and innocent into something perverted. Ignoring that fact, Issei began to cook breakfast for everyone at the house. Issei thought since Ingvild was from Europe and wasn't well versed in Japanese cuisine, even despite having meals when they were in Yasaka's palace, it wasn't until a while till both Issei and Mickey could hear, thanks to their enhanced hearing, that everyone was starting to wake up and begin to move around. Mickey, hearing Asia starting to come down, turned back to her former brown-haired self as to not freak out the young former ex-nun. When all of them came down, everyone was surprised, especially the three females of the group, that Issei was wearing an apron and was cooking breakfast for them. Essie smiles. Oh, morning everyone, did you all sleep well? Asia surprised, what are you doing? Essie smiles. Isn't it obvious? I'm making us breakfast. Asia surprised, I didn't know you could cook. Essie chuckles. Fufu. Well, you will be surprised of what I'm actually capable of once you get to really know me. Ingvild. In all, Issei-san, this food smells delicious. Urza smiles. I agree. Who knew the master was such an excellent cook? Leonardo nods. Issei is definitely a man of many hidden talents. Issei pouts. Leonardo, we talked about this, you know what you have called me. Leonardo, read from embarrassment him. Flashback, 2 days ago, everyone from Issei's group had just returned from eating dinner with Raven as well as his parents. Both Orza and Ingvild were currently taking a bath together to freshen up before bed, while Issei's parents were getting the room that Leonardo would be staying in ready. Currently, Issei was sitting on the couch in the living room with Leonardo sitting across, the reason being that Issei wanted to get a couple things cleared up with the boys since he would be living with him until the foreseeable future. Issei, serious, Leonardo? Since you are going to be living with us for the time being, I want to clarify some things with you. Leonardo nods. Issei, serious, first things first, by no means are you a prisoner or being held hostage. If you wish to go back to your group, then I will not hold it against you since you've known them a lot longer than you've known me. Leonardo nods. Issei smiles warmly. But if you do decide to live here, then I hope I can give you the chance of living a normal life with the fear of other beings trying to attack you or trying to force you to join their side. I promise you that no one, including myself, will make you join their side or become a peerage member without your complete consent. I want you to enjoy your life as a normal human boy for as long as you still can. Leonardo couldn't help but form a small smile on his face since he could tell from his voice that he truly cared for his well-being, similar to an older brother caring for his younger brother. It was then Leonardo was brought out of his thoughts when Issei spoke again, but in a more serious tone. Issei. Serious, but I do have one rule when living here with me. Leonardo. Curious, what is it? It was then Issei pointed at Leonardo as if he was about to issue a command, which made Leonardo a bit nervous about what the red dragon was going to ask him. Issei. Serious, from now on smirks you will call me Honey-sama. Leonardo blinks in confusion. Flashback end. It was then Issei told Leonardo that when he was going to be transferring into Core Academy, he would be Leonardo Hyoudou, and that the story would be that he was living with family members overseas and decided to move back and study in Japan, as well as spend time with his family members. Of course, the wielder of Annihilation Maker couldn't help but confused as well as a bit embarrassed because he has seen firsthand how rambunctious this family could be. But at the same time, Leonardo couldn't feel that this would be better than being in constant danger with him being in danger with him being in the hero faction. Leonardo read from embarrassment. Good morning, Annie-san. Issei smiles happily. Yahoo! Finally, I have an adorable Ototo to raise. I'm now one step closer to achieving one of my goals in life. Asia, curious, what goal is that, Issei-san? Issei smirks smugly. One of my goals in life is to become the ultimate Ani-sama. Everyone in the room couldn't help but look at Issei dumbfounded at what he just announced, though as if a signal had just been sent out to certain individuals felt as if someone was declaring a challenge to them personally. Sirzechs' sorrowful mind curious, did someone declare that they were better on E1 summer than me? Smirks fat chance. With the say Greg sweat drops, really partner, that's one of your goals. The same mind smiles happily, of course, I've always been curious about what it's like to be an older brother, and with Leonardo here, this would be the perfect opportunity to do so. Plus, my dragon instincts are practically screaming at me to become the best at it because I refuse to be called a terrible anti-san. Greg's sweat drops. What am I going to do with you? As Issei finished the final preparations for the meal, all of the girls couldn't help stare at Issei in awe of how fluid and precise he was at cooking their breakfast, and they could tell from the aroma that the meal was no doubt going to be delicious. In their eyes, Issei could no doubt be the perfect house husband, which the very thought made the girls blush. All the while, Mickey couldn't help but smirk at the sight of her future daughter-in-laws, both frowning and lusting over her son, which made her no doubt believe that she will have some grandchildren very soon. But she also but smile at her seeing son so happy and being able to come out of his shell, even though a part of her still worried that now that he unlocked not only his memories, but also his original power, that no doubt powerful opponents that might be even stronger than him will come knocking at his door. One of them might be the one to kill him, and if that were to happen, then Mickey and Goro wouldn't know what they would do. On the table were sets of bowls of hot rice and miso soup, alongside plates of grilled fish, tamagoyaki, and pickled vegetables. Issei thought it would be nice to not do anything too fancy to overwhelm everyone, and just stuck to a simple Japanese breakfast for everyone. As for Ingvald's case, since her name is from Norway, Issei thought it would nice to start her off with something that she was familiar with, in which he made Ingvald Vaff for Norwegian waffles, in which he made extras of in case everyone was curious if they wanted to try some. Everyone in the room was in awe of the meal prepared for them, and when they all took a bite of it, they were all in bliss of the amount of flavor that each of the meals had in store for them. Mickey, in bliss you surely haven't lost your touch, I say. Leonardo? Smiles softly while nodding, it's amazing. Urza? Smiles while crying tears of absolute joy, I say. Sama continues to impress me more and more. I'm so happy to have met you. Ingvald? In all while smiles fondly, Issei-kun, these waffles are amazing. They remind me of how my father used to make them when I was a little girl. Asia, amazed Issei-kun, this meal is amazing. Where did you learn how to cook like this? Isaac. Chuckles Fufu. Well, I actually learned it from my grandfather before he passed away. Every time me and my family would go to visit him, we would spend hours learning and making different types of meals from around the world. Asia. Curious, why did you stop? Passaic. Smiles sadly. Well, when my grandfather passed, I essentially my drive to cook as well as the other things, because it was through my grandfather that I became interested in these things in the first place. Asia. Sad and I see. I'm sorry if I brought up bad memories, Essie. Essie. Smiles softly. You're alright, Asia, you didn't know. Besides, while I was away I had time to look back on my life and remembered all the good times I had with him. I knew he wouldn't want me to dwell in the past and move forward and head towards a brighter tomorrow, hence I decided to delve into some of my old hobbies like cooking. Asia. Curious, what else can you do? Essie smirks with one eye closed. You'll just have to wait and see. As everyone continued to finish their meals, Essie reminded Urza, Ingvald, and Leonardo to get ready since he wanted to take them so that Sona can help them enroll, and since no one was at school today, this would be the perfect time to do so. All three of them nodded and began heading upstairs as soon as they were finished eating. As Issei was washing the dishes, he received a text from Ria saying that her brother wanted to speak to him, which made the brown-haired boy curious as to why the Crimson Satan would want to speak with him personally of all people. But it was then Issei thought that Sirzechs was probably curious about Issei's rapid growth and strength since he was able to easily defeat a cadre class fallen without even needing to use his sacred gear. This also gave the brown-haired boy an idea of how personally meeting Sirzechs privately could help him accelerate his goals a lot quicker, as well as inform him about the dangers of Resivium and the old Satan faction since he didn't want to tell Riaz or Sona since it would be too overwhelming for them. It was then Issei scrolled down the text he received and saw the location of where to meet Sirzechs. Issei mentally sighed since he needed to bring his group to quit to get registered, but he couldn't deny a summons from Sirzechs. He figured that he could ask Asia to take them to see Sona before he heard a knock on his door. Knock knock, Issei. Curious? How could that be? When Issei opened the door, it revealed Kiba, Irina and Zenobia waiting for them at the door. Even though Irina and Kiba were putting a happy face, he could see Zenobia had a slight scowl since she was technically visiting a house of devil, but did notice her expression soften a bit when upon looking at the brown-haired boy since she now knew that the boy in front of her didn't really have a choice in the matter when becoming a devil. I say, curious, what are you three doing here? Irina smiles happily. Well, we obviously came to see and hang out with you, silly. Excited, guess what, I say. The church were able to buy my old house. Now I can come over and hang out with you just like the old days. They say, smiles, that's great, Irina, maybe we can finally catch up for the years we've spent apart from one another. Irina blushes nervously, right? That's what I was also thinking. Zenobia. Serious, Irina, get a hold of yourself. We are not here to spend time with Hyoudou. We are here to do our mission, and that is to keep an eye on him. Irina? Pouts, can't we do both? I know he's still a devil and all, But he's still my childhood friend and I haven't seen him in forever. Issei smiles sadly. Well, as much as I want to spend time with you again, Irina, I'm sadly quite busy today. Irina? Pouts a no fair. Issei? Curious what brings you here, Kiba? Kiba? Smiles. I'm here to check on Urza One-sama. Issei? Smiles. Oh, okay, well, she's. But before Issei could finish the sentence, he could sense a large amount of bloodlust animating from Kiba from his usual Casanova smile. Issei. A bit nervous and confused. Kiba, are you alright? Kiba smiles softly while releasing bloodlust. Now Issei, I know you said that when you left that you would stop being a pervert. Am I correct? Issei nervous? Yes. Why? Kiba smiles softly while releasing bloodlust. Good. That's good because if you were being your usual perverted self and give my sweet one Issei molest stares, then we will have some serious problems. Issei was genuinely taken back by Kiba's behavior since he had never seen him release such bloodlust before joining the Grimmery peerage. This also made Issei make sure to not get on the blonde knight's bad side if possible. Issei, serious Kiba, I swear to you as not only a dragon, but also as the only other guy in Ria's peerage that I have not looked or done anything to Urza since I've saved her. Issei, mind sweat drops. In reality she's been doing that to me. Issei smiles, normally good, let's keep it that way, shall we? Issei curious, well actually, since you're here, can you do me a favor? Tiba curious, what is it? Basie serious, I was wondering if you could take Urza, and Vold, and Leonardo to the academy and meet Sona Kaichu so that we can get them enrolled. Since I have just been summoned by Sirzechs to talk to him privately. Tiba serious, I see smiles. Well, in that case, I'll be glad to since it would give me time to catch up with Erzani-san. Zenobia serious, I see. In that case, we shall accompany you to see Mary Lucifer. They say. Raises an eyebrow. Didn't you hear what I just said? It's a private talk and as such you and Irina can't come. Zenobia serious, well, as long as you hold the pieces of Excalibur as well as Avalon within you, then wherever you go, we go as well. May I remind you caused a serious uproar back at the Vatican, and as such we cannot, fellow members of the Church as well as followers of God, allow you to walk around with such a holy item unsupervised. They say, sighs and annoyance. I said that no matter what they say or do, they will never get their hands on these fragments. These fragments as well as Avalon are staying with me and me alone, no one will ever get their hands on it. Not even if my master were to order me to hand them over, will I hand them over. At that statement, all of them were surprised at Issei's declaration. He was even willing to defy his master Rias if it meant keeping the Excalibur fragments and Avalon in his care. This made Kiba slightly worried and decided to ask Issei his thoughts, and see what he said was true. Kiba? Serious Issei? You can't be serious about defying Buchu if she were to order you to give up the fragments. I say. Serious, I am Kiba. I will stand up for what I believe in even if others don't agree with me or try to fight me for it. You may not agree, but I must protect Excalibur with every fiber of my being even if it means if I have to turn everyone I love and care about against me. Fib could see the serious and undying will of Issei's words. All he knew for sure was that this was not the same perverted brown-haired boy that he fought along and got to know these last 2 months. Fib. Serious, I see in that. I hope it doesn't come to that scenario, since the last thing I need is to kill my comrade. Issei nods. Thank you, Kiba. Looks at Zenobia and Irina, but I do have a favor to ask of the both of you. Irina, Zenobia. Curiosum? Issei. Serious. I was hoping you two could go along with Kiba and escort Urza, Ingvild and Leonardo to the school while I have my talk with Sirzechs. Zenobia. Curious, and why would we do that? They say. Serious, you're right. You don't have any reason to grant my request, especially I am a devil, and you two are followers of the Church. But I'm not asking you as a devil who is in the service of the House of Grimmery. I'm asking solely as not only a former human, but also as the Red Dragon Emperor. Zenobia. Serious, I see. Curious, But why do you want us to go with them? They say, sighs. Because I'm technically Ingvald's bodyguard for the time being, and I promised Sona to take her to the academy, but I can't do that due to my meeting with Sirzechs. Plus, sadly, Ingvald has dangerous people after, and even though I have faith in Kiba's sword skills and Urza having Gram, I'm afraid it won't be enough if a large were to attack. Zenobia raises an eyebrow in curiosity. But what can we do? Without our Excalibur fragments, we're just as vulnerable as any regular human. Issei raises an eyebrow, still playing the dumb card, are we? Zenobia confused. Issei smirks. Irina? I can believe, since no doubt, after losing Excalibur Mimic, she was given a regular light sword to protect herself. But you have something else in your arsenal which you would have no doubt used if I hadn't shown up to stop Kakabil. Zenobia trying to play dumb. What are you? But before Zenobia could say anything else, Issei quickly went up to Zenovia's ear and whispered something that not even Kiba's enhanced could hear. But when it was done, Zenovia's eyes widened in shock as she couldn't believe what Issei just told her, but was even more confused as to how Issei knew about that. Shocked? How did you, Issei? Serious, to be honest, I wasn't sure when I first saw you in Kyoto, but when I saw you again during the fight with Kakabil and taking destruction from you, that's when I knew. Zenobia, serious. Issei smile. So Zenobia, will you grant my request? Zenobia serious. Some sighs. Very well, since this is technically a request from a dragon, I don't suppose we can do that. Plus, I guess this could be considered thanks for saving us from being killed by Kakabil. Issei smiles. Thank you for your generosity. Just as Issei finished thanking Zenobia and Irina for taking his request, everyone from Issei's group, including Asia, came down ready to head out. Urza smiles. Isaiah, it's good to see you again, little brother. Kiba smiles happily. It's good to see you again as well. Wayne-sama. Ingvald. Curious, say Send. What is everyone doing here? Issei smiles. They're here to take you all to the academy. Leonardo. Curious you're not coming with us. Issei. I sadly know it, Toto. Sirzechs-sama has summoned me for a private talk that I must attend. Smiles softly, but I will make sure to catch up to the rest of you guys as soon as possible. Leonardo nods. Zenobia, Rina, Kiba. Shocked to Daodo. Kiba, confused. Issei, why are you calling the wielder of the Annihilation Maker your little brother? Issei grins cheekily because as of 2 days ago, Leonardo here is now Leonardo Hyoudou, my new adopted little brother. The three individuals were shocked that not only Issei were able to get the possessor of one of the most powerful and dangerous Longinus class sacred gears onto his side, but also make him his little brother. Once they all calmed down from their shock, Issei told his group in Asia that he needed to speak to the Sirzechs about something important, to which they all nodded in understanding. It was then Issei hopped on Cavalier and promised them that he would catch up to them as soon as he could. Scene change. Kwa Hotel. Issei was currently in the more luxurious parts of Kwa, where fragments of city life were prominent. He was parked next to a super luxurious hotel to which Issei's sweat dropped, since a part of him still hasn't gotten used to supernatural beings and their super luxurious lifestyle. Issei sweat drops. I guess I shouldn't be surprised since he is the Devil King. As Issei made his way inside, he noticed that a lot of the females in the lobby had blushes on their faces from seeing an extremely handsome young man walk in. Of course, Issei couldn't help but sweat drop a bit, since not only was this the result of inheriting his father's curse of having godlike riz, but he could also sense the desperation to sleep with him. As soon as Issei told the receptionist of his reason for being here, he made his way to the penthouse suite and began to knock. Issei, mind, sighs, let's get this over with. Knock, knock. After a few moments, the door to the suite opened, and out came a beautiful young woman appearing to be in her early 20s with back-length silver hair that features a long braid on each side with small blue bows at the ends, while the rest is let down, which ends in twin braids and red eyes. The woman was wearing a blue and white French-made outfit with long sleeves and a white-made headband over her head with red lipstick as a cosmetic accessory. The woman was wearing a blue and white French maid outfit with long sleeves and a white maid headband over her head with red lipstick as a cosmetic accessory. This woman was, of course, Graphia Lucifuge, a maid from the house of Gremory and Sirzechs' queen. When the silver-haired maid was at the door, she couldn't help but blush in both shock and surprise since she didn't expect such a handsome young man to be knocking at her king's husband's door. But she was able to bring down her blush and return to her usual stoic expression. Graphia. Stoic, excuse me, young man, who you might be? Issei, scratching the back of his head while smiling nervously. Yeah, it seems not everyone that I know about my makeover session. Graphia. Raises an eyebrow. Excuse me, makeover. Issei. Smiles nervously while pointed himself. It's me, Graphia-san. Hi, do you say? Graphia. Shocked hi, do you say? I say. Chuckles nervously. Graphia couldn't believe her eyes. The boy that was in front of her was actually her sister-in-law's pawn, as well as the current Red Dragon Emperor. Now she heard from reading the report from Riaz that Issei had changed while away on a training trip, but to see it firsthand was a totally different story. If she was totally being honest with the added white fringes to his hair, if Issei either had red and blue eyes, then no doubt Issei could have been mistaken for her and Sirzechs' child. But she decided to put those thoughts away for the time being and gestures to Issei to come inside. When Issei entered the suite, the brown-haired head to admit it was very nice and luxurious, that possibly no doubt the top 1% of people as well as celebrities and politicians can stay in. Issei. Whistles. Issei. Whistles. Wow, you two really know how to pick a place to stay in. Graphia. Nods. Thank you. Hi, Dusan. Issei. Curious. I'm guessing the reason why both you and Sirzechs-san are in the human world is due to the Leaders' Summit. Graphia. Curious with a raised eyebrow. I'm surprised that you know about that since not even Lady Riaz knows about it yet. Issei. Serious. Well, Azazel decided to slip me that little detail when I returned Kakabeel to him. Graphia. Serious. Ah, yes. From the report that Lady Riaz and Lady Sona sent in, it said that you were hired by the governor of the fallen angels to stop Kakabeel. Basie. Waves nonchalantly. Yeah, Azazel came to me as soon as I returned from my training, and since it was essentially his fault for letting this happen, I decided to make him literally pay for it. Gracias? Serious, I see. It was then Gracias gestured to say to sit on the couch as she fetched Sirzechs to let him know of his arrival. After a few minutes, one of the rooms of the suite opened, revealing a handsome man who seems to be in his early 20s. He has shoulder-length, crimson hair and blue eyes. He was currently wearing a black business suit with a tan vest underneath and wearing a green tie. This, of course, was Sirzechs Lucifer, one of the 4 current Devil Kings, as well as the older brother of Rios Gremory. Upon seeing the brown-haired boy similar to his queen, the Crimson Satan was also taken back by his sister's pawn's new appearance, as well as the amount that he had, even though he knew he was hiding a good majority of it. Sirzechs smiles. Ah, Sikun, it truly has been a while, hasn't it? Bess bows respectfully. Yes, it has, Lord Lucifer. Sirzechs chuckles. Please say no need for the formalities. There are no officials here as well as my sister to reprimand you. Graphia sighs in annoyance. Lord Lucifer, please don't be so nonchalant and wave it off. He is only doing what is natural, since if there were any high-ranking officials here and hide us and didn't properly bow to you, then no doubt he would get into serious trouble. Sirzechs sighs. I know, Graphia, but we are not in the underworld right now, are we? Having Purasata bow to us would seem unnatural and confusing to the locals, don't you agree? Graphia sighs. As you wish, Lord Lucifer. Sirzechs smiles. Thank you, Graphia. Gestures to say, please, Issei. Sit. Issei, curious, so what is it that you wanted to talk to me about? Sirzechs. Syria. Straight to the point, I can respect that. I wanted to know how you were able to acquire such strength to defeat a cadre-class fallen angel like Kakabeel without needing your sacred gear, as well as to you being in possession of Avalon, since I know that 1 month of training wouldn't have made you be able to do what you did to Cockable. Bess. Serious, you're right, Lord Lucifer. That was why when I left to go train, Drake was kind enough to teach me a time dilation barrier spell, in which a week within the would equal to a month. Sirzechs. Serious. So you actually have been training for 3 months instead of 1, but that doesn't explain your increase in power. Issei. Serious. Well, sad to say I had it to choice to make. Raphia. Curious. A choice. Issei. Nods. You see, even with my 3 months of training at best, I would have been at par with at least a high-tier mid-ranking devil, with me being on par with a high-class devil if I used the boosted gear. But that wouldn't be enough, especially with me being the Red Dragon Emperor, and stronger opponents would be knocking at my door. So Drake made me an offer that was too good to pass up. Sirzechs? Curious which was? Issei. Serious to turn the rest of my body into that of a dragon, which I can tell you to know that I have more of a draconic aura than before. Sirzechs. Serious. Oh, it's true, you're now a complete half-devil half-dragon hybrid. Issei. Sighs. It wasn't an easy decision to make since I really want to give away what remaining humanity that I had left, but I don't regret one bit since, thanks to my new draconic body, I was able to surpass my expected limits. A good thing too, since no doubt Kakabeel was just beginning, and after what I've seen and heard, it seems that I need to get stronger and train more. Sirzechs. Curious, what do you mean, Issei? Bess. Serious. I'm sure that Sarah Fall has told you about Ingvild, right? Sirzechs. Serious. Yes, she has, and I'm curious as to how you met Ingvild in the first place. Issei. Serious. Well, you see, Sirzechs, after when I was finished with my training, one of the past users of the boosted gear suggested that I go to New York City to grab a relic that he left behind. After I grabbed the relic, I heard fighting near me, and that's when I met Ingvild and Elfman Strauss, who told me about Ingvild's situation and who was after her. Sirzechs. Serious. Who was after Ingvild? Issei. Sighs, the first official super devil and the son of the original Lucifer, risen from Liv and Lucifer. This greatly shocked both Sirzechs and Graphia, since they never thought they would hear that name again. They honestly couldn't believe that the son of the original Lucifer was finally coming out of the woodworks and going after a descendant of Leviathan. Sirzechs. Serious. Issei, did you tell Riaz or Sona about this? Nods. No, since this information would be too much for them. To be honest, I wanted to talk to you privately on the matter before the Leaders' Summit so that we could think of the countermeasure if Resivium were to make another move. Sirzechs. Serious. Issei. Excellent decision-making, Issei. It seems those 3 months of training have not only made you powerful, but sharper mentally. Issei. Nods. Thank you, Sirzechs. Serious. I also have news that Resivium may not be the only Devil King descendant, maybe making another move against the current underworld. Sirzechs. Curious, you do? Bissett. Serious. You see, after I met Ingvild, we went to another location that held another powerful relic that my sensei wanted me to retrieve, where I met Urza, and that's where I met the descendant of the original Asmodeus Crucius. Serious. The old Satan faction. Do you know what happened to him? Issei. Serious. Yes, I killed him. This greatly shocked Sirzechs and Graphius, since even though Krukari was not as big a threat as Resivium, but he was still a pure-blooded descendant of the original Asmodeus, as well as an ultimate-class devil. The fact that Issei, even being the Red Dragon Emperor, has only been part of the supernatural for only a little bit over a month and was able to kill a devil like Krusari was definitely something that not everyone could say they'd done, and walked away unscathed. But there was one thing that made Sirzechs curious about the young boy in front of him. Sirzechs. Curious. Issei, just how strong are you right now? Issei, thinking, it's kind of hard to say, but from what Ddraig has told me I'm on par with one of the 5 Dragon Kings, but he has absolute faith that I will break that margin fairly soon and become on par with a Heavenly Dragon class level. Sirzechs' mind, serious. Amazing, just 3 months of training already made him this strong. No doubt right, and recruited no less a monster to be in her peerage. It honestly terrifies me a bit. Raphia, serious. Hyoudou-san, you still haven't told us how you received Avalon? Sirzechs. Serious. Ah, yes. Please explain how you obtained such a legendary and holy item. Issei. Mind, sighs and annoyance. Was really hoping they would forget that. Issei. Sighs. Well, it turns out parts of my memories when I was a child were sealed, and that during my travels, I was able to break them and found out that some old man implanted Avalon into me for safekeeping and then sealed away my memories of that encounter. Sirzechs. Surprised Issei. Do you remember who the person who implanted Avalon into you? Issei. Nods. Not really, since his face was covered, but I think he heard that he called himself Issei. Upon hearing that name, both Sirzechs and Graphia's faces went completely pale, as they knew the members of the Issei family were capable, especially with the great guardian of humanity Shiro Issei. Everyone in the supernatural world truly believed that the Issei family are a family of monsters in human skin, which, given their feats, it was not that far off. Upon seeing their reactions, Issei couldn't help but inwardly smirk that his family was something not to be messed with, as well as being feared by someone as powerful as Sirzechs. Sirzechs gulps nervously. Issei, thank you for all of your information, Issei. If there's anything you wanted to talk to me about, then you are more than free to go. Issei. Curious, actually there is one thing I wanted to talk to you about, but they're more like favors than anything. Sirzechs. Raises an eyebrow in curiosity. Well, that depends on the favors. Issei puts his hand up. Don't worry, these favors are not too extreme and they are within your power, so to speak. Sirzechs. Curious. Okay, then what are your favors, Bisset? Serious. I want you to help me become a high-class devil as soon as possible. Sirzechs. Curious. Oh? Why is that? Issei. A bit pink from embarrassment. Well, you see, it's because I'm in love with your sister. This greatly surprised the Crimson Satan and his queen that their sister's pawn openly admitted for having romantic feelings for her, though their shocks became smiles of joy since the engagement party, that is say, despite his perverted nature, was a kind and gentle boy who truly loved and cared for his loved ones, and no doubt truly loved Rias for who she was and not just she is from. Sirzechs. Chuckles. Well, this is certainly a surprise, AJ. Curious, Sirzechs. Smiles. I mean, I personally thought it would be a while before you openly admit your feelings to my sister, given your slight timid nature. AJ, shocked. Wait, you knew? Sirzechs. Smiles happily. Issei. Sighs. Of course you knew. Sirzechs. Smiles. You know that, Issei. If this was your way to ask for my blessing to go out with my precious right hand, then I must admit this is no doubt the most entertaining route you've taken. But there's no need to worry, you say, you've already had my blessing since the engagement party. Issei, mind deadpanned while sweat dropping. He does realize he's giving me the go-ahead to go out with his sister. Right. Issei, embarrassed. Well, thank you for blessing and all, but that's the thing, Sirzechs. Sirzechs. Curious, really? Then what is it? Are you perhaps having trouble confessing your feelings to her? Smirks. Here you are asking your Auntie Chan for some advice to ask her out. Why didn't you say so? Grins with a thumbs up. Don't worry, Issei, your big brother is gonna help you out. Mind deadpanned. Honestly, this guy here. Graphia whispers. Facepalm Satan, give me strength. One nods. No, that's not it. You see, even though me and Ria's feelings for each other are pretty obvious, it's the fact of the repercussions if our relationship became official. Sirzechs. Curious, how so? Issei. Sadly, do you even have to ask? Look at me, Sirzechs. Even though I'm the Red Dragon Emperor, I'm still a low-class devil and a reincarnated one at that. I know how stubborn and arrogant the devils are in the underworld, and if they see a lowly reincarnated devil like myself being romantically intimate with a high-class pure-blooded devil like Rias, then no doubt some backlash may occur which will no doubt affect your family. This made the Crimson Satan think carefully on what the brown-haired boy said, and he had to admit he was right, since even though their race is in a stage of being reformed, they still wouldn't someone like Issei, who is a low-ranked reincarnated devil, be with his sister who is not only a high-class devil, but also an heiress of a noble household. Even though many of his kind have harems which are not filled with pure-blooded devils, they would just treat those women as playthings and as ways to satisfy their lust. Even though Sirzechs knew Issei's dream was to become the harem king, he knew he wouldn't be like the others and treat his sister and any possible girls that can be in his harem in such a way. Sirzechs. Serious. I see, so you want to become a high-class devil, so that when you finally ask out my sister, the backlash is lessened. Issei nods. Yes. But not only that, I want to become high-class, so that I can feel that I am a man truly worthy of being with her. Sirzechs smiles. I see. Well, I think I can help you with that. They say, hopeful. Really? Sirzechs smiles. Why, yes, since you not only did you single-handedly defeat Ddraig, fallen angel, who meant to bring harm to 2 heiresses from 2 prestigious households, but also prevented us from going into war with the fallen angels, as the fact you were able to bring in a descendant of the original Leviathan over to our side. Now normally, I believe something would no doubt help you become a high-class or even an ultimate-class devil, but Issei sighs in annoyance. But those old geezer wouldn't want to admit that a lowly reincarnated devil would have been able to do such a feat without help, or they were orders from their master. Sirzechs nods. Exactly. Now I can no doubt convince the council to allow to be promoted middle-class devil. But Issei sighs, then they will no doubt just make it harder for me to become a high-class devil. Yeah, I figured as much. Serious. That's why this second favor of mine will be a little bit more complicated. Sirzechs raises an eyebrow, which is? Issei. Serious. I want to be a free piece. This surprised both Sirzechs and Grafia as to why would Issei want to be a free piece when he just said that he was in love with his master. Sirzechs confused. I don't understand, Issei. I thought you said you loved my sister, so why do you not want to be a part of her peerage? Issei serious while putting his hand up. Don't get it twisted, Sirzechs. I do indeed love your sister and her peerage, but sadly, if I stay as a servant bound to her, then all of my achievements that I earned up to now and in the future will go to her and not me, since she is my master, which would make it harder for me to become a high-class devil. Sirzechs serious. I see that is true. Since she is your master, then whatever achievement that you receive earn will no doubt go mostly to Rias, since she is your master. And those old geezers in the Devil Council will try to spin it so that you were doing it by your master's orders. Concern, but I say, are you sure you want to do something like this? I mean, how will Rias feel about this? No doubt she'll refuse to let you go so easily. I say, sighs, I know, serious, but it must be done. That is why there is a second reason why I want to become a free piece. Sirzechs raises an eyebrow, that is. Issei serious. I don't want Rias or her peerage to constantly rely on me to get them out of tough situations. In a span of 3 months, I have gone from being the weakest member of her peerage to being strong enough to take down both her and Sona's peerage without even needing to use my boosted gear. After what happened with Kekabil, no doubt both Rias and the rest of her peerage will no doubt rely on me to get them out of tough situations. With the looming threats hanging over us, I'm sad to say with the way both Rias and her peerage are now, they would no doubt get taken out immediately. Sirzechs serious with a bit of concern. Yes, but you'll be there to protect them, and they say, serious. I won't always be there to protect them, Sirzechs, and I think you know that. Sirzechs concerned him, so I sadly look. I understand your concern for Rias, so am I, and you don't even think of possibly sending your little sister out into battle, but serious, from what I just told you, both you and Gracia must know deep down inside that a storm is coming, and better than something that can possibly protect Rias and the others. Why not help them stronger so that they can at least survive what's to come? Serious. I know that maybe in your perspective what I'm saying may sound cruel and harsh, but understand that what I'm doing is for Ria's sake in the long run. I just want to make sure that Rias and the others are able to protect themselves when I'm not around so that they won't have the same problem with Kekabil. Sirzechs sighs sadly. No, you're right to say, despite me not wanting to send my little right hand out into battle, but if what you say is true, then it would probably be best that Rias and her peerage get trained to become stronger, since just like you, I can't be everywhere at once. Curious if I grant this request, will you help train them so that they can be ready for the threats coming their way? Issei smiles while nodding. Of course, actually, I was already planning on doing that once I came back, since just like you, Sirzechs, I deeply care for Rias and her peerage. Don't worry, I will still perform my duties as a devil by performing contracts and killing stray devils, as well as still being her pawn during raiding games, but besides, it will be out of my own accord. Sirzechs and Graphia couldn't help but smile warmly at Issei's words, since no doubt Rias has chosen not only an amazing pawn, but also a wonderful young man to be her future husband. Graphia may not have it expressed on her face, but she was overjoyed that Issei was doing this for Rias, since she knew that despite kind and generous, was also could be too prideful and arrogant for her own good, and what Issei was about to do might help her tone down her pride. The Silver Maid honestly could not wait to tell Ria's mother, Venelana, about this, since she too was worried about Ria's personality, since the only reason she was like that was because both of their husbands spoiled her run. Sirzechs smiles warmly. You truly are a kind boy, Issei. I'm so glad that my precious right hand met you. Issei smiles. Thank you, Sirzechs. Sirzechs thinking now as for the question of how to tell Rias about this. Issei serious. I've actually thought of something on my way here. Sirzechs curious. Really, what do you suppose? Serious. I suggest a mini rating of sorts, me versus Rias and her peerage. We'll say for now that you were greatly interested in my growth and that this would be the perfect way to test it out and to see where I stand. If I win, then I become a free piece, but if I were to lose, then I shall remain as Ria's pawn, fully bound with no complaints whatsoever. Sirzechs serious. I see. But wouldn't you defeating them would just crush them even more, especially when they find the true meaning behind this battle? Issei nods. Yes. It most likely will happen, but after explaining to them the truth of this battle, this will no doubt hopefully light a spark to motivate them to become stronger than what they are now. Sirzechs serious. Issei break them down so you could mold them back up into something better. Curious, don't you think that's a bit cruel though? Issei sighs. Yes, but it's the only way they have any hope of getting stronger for what to come. Sirzechs serious. I understand we'll have this raiding game before Parents' Day, so that when I make my case to the council, they won't give Rias credit for your actions. They say nods. Thank you, Sirzechs. Blinks in surprise. Shocked. Holy crap, I totally forgot that the open house was in 2 days. Sirzechs chuckles. I'm glad despite your personality change that you are still the same old Issei that we all know and love deep down inside. Bess deadpan. Tell me, Sirzechs. The real reason why you came is because of open house, wasn't it? Sirzechs chuckles. You got me. You should have seen Rias when she found out. The same mind sweat drops. By office Sasuke, I hope I don't act like that when I grow up. Greg. Sweat drops. Technically you already do. The same mind sweat drops. Yeah. But I'm still a teenager in which I can still get with it. But when adults do it, it just feels creepy. Greg smirks. Tell yourself that in about 10 years and see what happens. Issei mind smirks. We'll see about that. Ding ding. As soon as Issei finished his little mini conversation with Greg, he saw he was receiving a text. And when he pulled out his phone, he saw that it was Rias telling him that once he was done talking to his brother, that to come pool at the school to meet up. Sirzechs curious, is everything alright, Issei? Issei smiles. Yes, everything is fine. It was just Rias asking me to meet up with her, and the others after I'm done with our talk. Sirzechs smiles. I see. Well, I see no reason for us to talk any further, so you are free to go as you please. Issei smiles while nodding. Thank you, Sirzechs. Sama. It was then Issei got from his seat and shook Sirzechs' hand, and they nodded in agreement of what their future plans were for both him and Rias. He quickly bowed to Graphia, who simply smiled softly and nodded. But before Issei went out the door, he looked back at the crimson Satan and the silver-haired maid with a sly smirk on his face. Issei smirked slyly. Oh, I almost forgot. Sirzechs Griffia, curious them. Issei smirks while waving see you soon on Isama 1 Isama winks. But that said, Issei left, leaving an embarrassed Griffia and an overly excited Sirzechs, since now he will soon have an adorable little brother. As Issei was making his downstairs, he made a mental note to stop by his house to grab his swim trunks, all while having a slightly perverted grin, since the thought of seeing the girls in swimsuits will no doubt be a sight to behold. But that thought in his head, Issei picked up the pace back to bike, not knowing that his so-cold day at the pool would be anything but peaceful. Thanks for listening to my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Sayonara, see you in the next video.